Hey, what's going on, guys? Inky Johnson here, man. Hope all is well. Welcome to another episode of Sudden Change. First and foremost, I just want to thank you guys for your time. I greatly appreciate it. But I want to start us off with the quote by the late, great Dr. Maya Angelou that says, "People may forget what we do, people may forget what we say, but people will never forget how we make them feel." I'm reminded of a story about me and my wife and one of my cousins and this gentleman that was an amazing soul. And so me and my wife, we would go out into our garage and be cleaning up every day, just cleaning old stuff out of the garage. And there was an older gentleman that lived in our neighborhood at the time, and he would always stop by. He knew both of us, and he would always come up, joke with us, man. We would have a big time. He would share different things, crack us up both, joke about our cars. He would always joke about my car. I would have trash in my car would be dirty sometimes because I would be traveling. Just a beautiful soul, right? And he would always stop by whenever he would see me and my wife's garage door up. And one day he stopped by, cracked a couple of jokes with us, and I'll never forget, he told us that he had been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, right? Not that day, but he had been diagnosed with cancer. And I remember looking at my wife thinking, like, man, he been diagnosed and he's living his life this way? Like, he been making us laugh every time he see us in the garage. Like, he been living his life this way? Like, he been like sudden change, right? He got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. It don't get no realer than that, right? And he continued to operate within a beautiful spirit. And I'll never forget this particular day. My cousin was there, and somehow the dialogue navigated to a space to where my cousin was talking about a gentleman that had did something for somebody, right? And I remember my cousin saying, man, because of what he did, like, he's really gonna be blessed because of it. And the older gentleman said, that's the blessing. And my cousin was like, no, you don't get it. Like, because of what he did, like, he's really gonna be blessed because of it. And the older gentleman responded again, like, that's the blessing. And my cousin kind of looked at him with a look of confusion and said to him, like, can you elaborate? And the older gentleman said, just the fact that you're in a position to be a blessing, that's the blessing, right? Like, what you did was inconsequential, right? Even though it was great, but what you did, it was inconsequential. Just the fact that you were in a position to be a blessing and you acted on it, that was the blessing. Like, we don't get blessed in life by saying, oh, we're going to do this, and because we're going to do this, we're going to be blessed as a result of it. No, we get blessed when we realize the position that we've been placed in to be a blessing is a blessing. In life, I firmly believe this. Blessings don't come to us, blessings flow through us. And so the next time you find yourself in a position to be a blessing, don't think about the culmination of the situation and say, man, when I do this, I'm really going to be blessed as a result of it. Think of it in terms of, man, I've been placed in a wonderful position to be a blessing, and that's the blessing. God bless you. Take care. Peace.
Welcome in, everybody. Part 18, three-level panel. Got a good group tonight. Really excited about it. Hopefully everyone's doing well, staying safe, getting back to some sense of normalcy. Excuse me. Just a couple ground rules real quick tonight. We'll have each speaker go, and then let me get some water for a choke. We'll have each speaker speak. They'll share their journey and what they want to share, and then we'll open up for questions. So if you have a question, just wait till the end of each speaker. Introduce yourself, name, and then ask your question. Try not to tell anybody a story if you can. So we'll go ahead and jump into it. First up tonight, we've got a really good friend of mine, someone that I'm really close with, talked several times throughout the week. Really excited for you guys to get to hear him and all the insight he's going to share. Obviously, Lee and I go back to his playing days, my managing days in the SAC at he was at Catawba, I was at Anderson, and he's the reason I got on at Hargrave. So I'm obviously really grateful for him and what he's meant to my journey. So without further ado, I'm gonna turn it over to Lee Martin, new assistant coach at Ohio University.
Thanks, Dave. Can everybody hear me okay? Am I good? Good deal. I appreciate you, Dave. That was a hell of an introduction there. I don't know if it's worth if it's the I deserve all that, but I appreciate it. Wow, man, 18 of these. That's pretty cool. Having 18 panels, and hopefully you keep this up. And I know guys are really gaining knowledge from this pandemic. I know I have, and guys that take the time and really listen and learn, I think they come out of this thing a better coach. I really do. So, like Dave said, you know, I've known him for a long time. I've been at Hargrave for 7 years before the last couple months, and now I've taken an assistant position at Ohio University. And I'll kind of tell you my story and how I got to where I am. You know, I'm a small town kid from Western North Carolina. I'm actually from the town of Mount Airy, which is probably better known for Mayberry, if anybody knows where the Andy Griffith Show is, for all these old heads on this call. That's actually where my town and where I grew up. So, you know, it's not a lot going on. No, we don't have a Barney Fife. No, Gomer Pyle is not my nephew nor my neighbor. But the show, that's actually where Andy Griffin grew up. So that's kind of how the show was created. I'm probably like many of you on this call. You know, I fell in love with basketball in the backyard, you know, on a hoop with a ball kind of by yourself, and fell in love with the game. I'm sure that's kind of how all players, coaches, assistant coaches, you know, agents, I feel like that's kind of how we all kind of fell into this the love for the game, is just, you know, kind of in the playground or you know, in your backyard shooting hoops with your friends or your grandfather or your uncle or your father, your older brother, whatever that may be. And that's the same for me. I really fell in love with this game. Thought I was a good player in high school. I was better than everybody else, but I got news for you. I didn't play against good competition at all. So, you know, I thought I was pretty good, and didn't have any offers. Had no scholarship offers, nothing like that to go play college basketball anywhere, and that was one of my dreams. And so my dad, being a big baseball guy and actually getting recruited through baseball and had a really nice career, suggested I go to some camps. And so I ended up touring around North Carolina, going to some summer camps to get to meet some staffs and whatnot. And I ended up going to Davidson College with head coach Bob McKillop, spending a week with them. And, you know, after the camp, at the end of the camp, Coach McKillop took me by the side and put his arm around me and told me, he said, you know, Lee, I think you're a good player. I don't think you're ready. I think you need to go to a prep school. And I had no idea what that was. Not the slightest idea of what a prep school, what postgraduate was, a fifth year. Did I lose year eligibility? Is it junior college? I had no idea what it was. So, you know, he kind of explained everything to me, and then gave me a list of 10 schools that he thought would be a great fit for me. So my senior year of high school, I started going down that list and touring schools, picking out which one made sense for me. And I was fortunate enough to choose Hargrave, and they chose me as well. I went there, played for Kevin Keats, was my head coach. I would say, you know, the very first time I was ever really coached and pushed as a player was at Hargrave, and really learned a lot about myself, learned a lot about my game, realized I wasn't as good as I thought I was. That's probably a big thing. But, you know, had a really, really good year. Was given multiple scholarship offers, you know, offers I couldn't even dream of around the country for great universities. Ended up choosing a place close to home in Catawba College, which was about an hour from where I grew up. And, you know, one thing I wanted to make sure, you know, at Hargrave, I spent a little time on the bench. And I don't know if anybody on this call, I'm sure we've all kind of experienced that in our life. I didn't love it. I didn't love sitting on the bench and watching somebody else play. So I wanted to make sure I went to the right level. I went to the level that I could play immediately and make an impact. So I did. I went to the Division II level. And fortunately, I went to the right place, had a wonderful career, really, really enjoyed it. You know, had a great teammates, won championships, played NCAA tournaments, you know, did some great things and really enjoyed it. And, you know, I guess I'm very similar to most college guys. You start wondering what's next, you know, what do you want to do? And like I said earlier, I've always loved our game. I love what it, you know, how it brings the purity to, you know, it brings your character out and brings who you are and all that good stuff. And I always knew I would be a part of the game, but didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. Well, my senior year, we had a really, really young team. We started 3 freshmen. You know, I was obviously a captain as a senior, and I found myself throughout the year starting to care more about their success than my own, and really starting to care about the way they practiced and the way they got ready for their game day routines and the way they prepared and the way they played and all the things that they were doing. I started caring more about myself. And so my college coach sat me down and he said, you know, Lee, I really think you need a coach. I can see it's where your mind is, it's where your heart is. You really need to dive into it and consider coaching. So that's what I did. You know, I finished my career in March of my senior year, and then really set off to see what I could do getting into coaching. And fortunately, you know, I didn't know a lot of people, but the people I did know, I felt like I had a pretty strong connection with, and Coach Keats had already left Hargrave. And I knew that was a place where I grew as a player. I learned who I was as a person. And I knew it would be a great starting point if I could ever get in the door there. And actually the coach that recruited me at Hargrave, A.W. Hamilton, was the head coach at Hargrave at the time. So I remember planting seeds, if you will, with Coach Hamilton and trying to work him and making sure if any angle or anything I could do to get on his staff or be a part of his program, get back at Hargrave, I would do. So we started having conversations, and I was fortunate enough for Coach Hamilton to offer me a position. And he was very open, very transparent. He said, look, Lee, I can't pay you. I can't pay you. I can give you a roof over your head. I can get you the occasional meal. But that's about all I can do for you. And I had a pretty good circle around me that understood, you know, if you want to get into this business, I'm sure everybody on this call has multiple stories like this, but you got to sacrifice a little bit financially and even location wise. And, you know, people your age are going out to the bars or, you know, playing golf or living their best life right after college. Well, some of us coaches, you know, we have to choose to sacrifice and go to an all boys military school in Chatham, Virginia, right after you're in college. And that's what I did. And, you know, Coach Hamilton, you know, gave me very, very small tasks my first year. I mean, guys, I don't even think I was in practice my first couple years. I would be ripping and running, getting the mail, you know, folding laundry, driving buses, you know, wiping floors. I mean, I was doing everything that you would think a manager or any, you know, a GA or anything like that would be doing in a program, because at a prep school, sometimes you don't have those things. So I was the grunt guy. And then my second year, I was actually fortunate enough to teach one class for $7,500. I taught a class. I taught SAT prep. I don't know how many guys off my SAT prep class. Actually, I think they all improved their scores, I believe. But we went all the way in. It was the most money I ever made in my life at one time, and I wasn't going to lose it. I went all the way in and made sure that everybody was going to improve their scores, or at least get a great swing at it. And then the following year, year 3 for me, a couple of the guys that worked for us, worked for Coach, end up leaving and taking Division I jobs. So I was fortunate enough to move up on his staff. And we were also fortunate enough during that time to get some really, really good players. And we got some guys. I mean, the next year we actually won a national championship. And we had 11 guys sign Division I scholarships off that team. And it was an incredible journey, incredible run. And one I'll and everybody there will remember forever. And then the following year, we had 13 guys sign Division I scholarships. So we started really, really rolling as a program. We were constantly number 1 in the country. We had the thing rolling. And then Coach Keats, actually, he was the head coach at North Carolina Wilmington at the time. And he went to a couple of NCAA tournaments and, lost to Duke by 6 in the first round, and then actually lost to Virginia by 5 in the first round of the NCAA tournament. And he ended up taking the North Carolina State job, which is where he is now. And Coach Hamilton actually left Hargrave and went with him as an assistant coach. And I'll never forget the day when Coach Hamilton took me to lunch. I don't know who's been to Chatham. I know a couple people on this call has, but there's not much there. There's a little Mexican restaurant on one side of Main Street, and then there's a little Italian restaurant on the other side. And so the biggest question we had for lunch was, you want to go Mexican or Italian today? And so we always laughed and kind of made that call. But typical day, Coach Hamilton looked at me and said, let's do Italian today. And I said, all right, Coach, let's do it. He took me in and he, I don't even know what we ordered. We were the only ones in there. And he looked at me and said, Lee, I'm going to North Carolina State. I'm going to push and see if you can get the job here. You deserve it. You've been here. You know our program. You care about it more than anybody. And so that's what we're going to do. And so we went back that afternoon, talked to our president. AW really, really pushed for me. And I was fortunate enough to get to the job. And he left on a cloud of dust, and out the door, he said, Lee, don't screw this up. And he headed down to Raleigh. And so I was fortunate enough to be the head coach at Hargrave for 3 years. And I'm not actually going to talk about being a head coach here for the first time, but I'll tell you what, guys, I forgot more about basketball than I ever knew. I thought I had all the answers. Then when I became a head coach, I realized I didn't know anything. But head coach for 3 years, really, really fortunate with a great staff. We were able to recruit really good players and good people. We've done really, really good things, won 100 games in the last 3 years, played in the National Final Four, sent players all over the country, had a really, really, really fun, good time. Hargrave will always be home for me. And, the last couple of months, I've been fortunate enough to have been offered a position to go to Ohio University. There are 2 Hargrave guys on staff. Coach Bowles is our head coach. I wouldn't say he's in the Hargrave family, but he's always been a very close friend of the Hargrave family for years. And, always respected what we did. And I'm fortunate enough to work for a good man now. So that's kind of my story. I didn't come from a coach's son. I didn't play in the NBA. I don't have anything like that behind my name. I'm very, 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 very lucky and very fortunate to have the path I have so far. I'm just very fortunate. I'm not going to take up too much of our time today. I know Coach Hamilton and Coach Irvin they're the home run talks tonight. So I'm just setting up the panel for them. But one thing I do want to talk about tonight is the relationship between a prep school coach or a JUCO coach or a high school coach or AAU coach to the college coach. And I don't want to talk obvious here. I don't want to talk about things that, I hope you don't say, well, duh, Lee. Obviously, that's what you're supposed to do. I hope I give you some things that you haven't thought about and some things that you could really, really, really take and make your own. And the next time you recruit or the next time you try to build a relationship, you really think about these things that hopefully I can help you with. You know, the thing everybody talks about in our business is relationships. I mean, the word culture, the word relationships, I know they get overused. I understand that, but it's genuine, it's sincere. To be able to build a relationship with a high school coach or prep school coach or a college or an AAU coach, you know, you can't just recruit their players. And I'm speaking as a 7-8 year prep school guy. You know, if you came into our gym at Hargrave and you strictly talk business, it was going to be really, really, really difficult to probably get some inside scoop on our players. And what I mean by that is, you know, you got to come in and you got to invest in these guys. You know, you need to find their interests. You know, you need to, do they play golf? You know, you know, what's their girlfriend's name? What's their wife's name? What's their favorite NBA team? You know, do they like baseball? What's their NFL team? You know, you got to figure out how to make a connection with these guys. Because I promise you, being on that side of things, the guys that strictly come in, recruit our players, and leave, it's very hard to get our guys. Because you got to remember, when you go recruit, you spend hour and a half evaluating, and then let's say you spend 20 minutes talking to them face to face. And then let's say you talk to them, I don't know, you talk to them 3 times a week for 20 minutes each time. And then you talk to people around them. I mean, if you really, really go after a guy. So if you really look at it, you're getting a very, very small snippet of that person's time, that player's time. Who else is he talking to? Well, he's definitely talking to his current coach. He's talking to somebody that in his corner that wants to see them do well and wants to see them succeed. So, you know, you building relationships outside of that person is going to be invaluable when you're moving forward. You know, I'm looking at my notes here. It's funny, guys. I don't care whether you are a Division I, Division II, Division III, NAIA, middle school coach. It doesn't matter. There are so many people that came through Hargrave during my time there that did not look the part. Their hair was a mess. You know, they had spaghetti stains on their polos. You know, it looks like they just mowed the lawn in their shoes. You know, they come in, it looks like they haven't showered in 3 weeks. I mean, it is incredible to see some of the guys and to know some of the people that came through that do not look presentable. You know, I think that's a 101 type of thing, but I wouldn't say it unless I saw it over and over and over again. Guys, you got to look the part. You know, you got to be presentable. You got to carry yourself in a confident, right manner, and you got to do that. Because if you don't, you know, it's gonna come back on you, 100%. You know, I'll tell you a great story one time. We had a good player at Hargrave, a very good player. He was ranked, I think he was in the top 100. I think he was a top 75 player or something like that. Committed to a school right before he came to school, right before he came to Hargrave. And this young man needed some academic work. And, you know, I was kind of our academic guy on staff. So I handled a lot of the, you know, SAT scores, their classwork, being on top of their assignments and quizzes and syllabuses and all that good stuff. Well, me and this assistant coach ended up attached at the hip because he knew he had to get this young man had to qualify. So one, his boss wouldn't be pissed at him, and two, you know, he knew he was going to be a really good player. So him and I had conversations every single week, not every day, but I would say 2 or 3 times a week. We would talk. And, I felt as a prep school coach, I felt like we were on a personal level. I mean, there was times he would call me and be around his kids or his wife, and we would talk about them, and we became friends, genuine friends, and we were in the weeds with that player, making sure he was getting his work done, test scores, and everything all the way done. And the young man ended up qualifying. And it was a really, really big time moment, and he was very thankful for all the work I did for him, and all this good stuff. But in my mind, guys, I thought I had a lifelong friendship with this coach. I mean, heck, man, I just got him a really, really good player, and if it wasn't for me and Hargrave, I'm not sure the kid would have qualified. And the following year, I hit him up. And I said, hey, Coach, how's it going? Hadn't heard from you in a while. Hope all is well. And, guys, he hit me with the who is this text. He hit me with the not sure who this is. And it was absolutely, it was mind-blowing to me because I felt like we really, really got somewhere in our relationship. And then he hit me with that. So not that I'm ever going to out this guy, or not that I'm ever going to, try to intentionally hurt this guy, but I can promise you for the rest of my time at Hargrave, if he didn't know who I was and he didn't appreciate the work I did for him, I wasn't going to go out of my way and help him. And I tell you that story, guys, to make sure that we learn from that. During this pandemic, it's an incredible time to build relationships, like we started off with. Wherever region you're in, whatever area you're in, pick 4 or 5 big time organizations, whether that's a high school, whether that's a prep school, whether that's an AAU team, whether that's a junior college, whatever that may be, and start building a relationship. You can text them, you can email them, you can call them, you can write them handwritten letters. I know people are really, really big on handwritten letters, and they're great. They really are. But you doing it one time is not going to get you anywhere. You can stretch yourself too thin, in my opinion, by trying to make 100 connections. I really believe, genuinely, you need to find 4 or 5 people that you want to hitch your wagon to, and you build relationships with those guys. And you get to know them, and your relationship is stronger with them than others, and that goes vice versa with them as well. I really, really think that's what you want to do. And then from a prep school side, when I first got into the business, I really, really thought, it's always going to be the players going to, choose where they go to school. I'm never going to influence the players. I'm never going to, it's always going to be the players' decision, all this stuff. And then, once you're in the game long enough, I think you start to realize players make mistakes. There's people, these players are people that you care about. You genuinely care about them, and you love them. And you want what's best for them. And, a lot of times you see things that they don't, or you have past experiences that they don't, that they didn't. And so I slowly evolved, and I slowly started to realize that, I want my players to be taken care of. I want my players to have great experiences. I want my players to be successful. I want our players to, all their dreams to come true. And if I genuinely know a coach and genuinely know what he's about and genuinely know that he is there for the young man and going to do things the right way, I hope my player goes there, if that makes sense. Now, I'm not going to twist his arm, and it's his decision at the end of the day, by all means, but I can promise you there's conversations that are being had with prospects that are, look, this coach is a great dude. He's going to take care of you. I genuinely trust him. He's a truth teller. Everything he does is not transactional. He genuinely cares about you as a person. He wants to see you with a college degree. If you need something, he's going to be there for you. And so you realize that as a prep school, high school coach, and then you want your players to go there. I think that's real and that's genuine. Things you can kind of do to build relationships. Prep school, high school, AAU coaches, they're looking for players, guys. They want their programs to be successful too. So if you ever can help them with a player, or you can ever, guide them in the right way, or give them an eval on a kid, man, that goes a long way. If you see a good player that maybe, you can't use, or, is a year away or could use their situation, by all means, call them, man, I got you one, at least take a look at it. I like him for you. Good people are going to realize that, and they're going to want to help you. I mean, I look down our list at Hargrave, our rosters, and, again, I was there for 7 years. I would say over half our players were references from college coaches. College coaches that would call us and say, "Hey, man, look, I think he's a good dude. I think he'd be a great player for you. Want to help you guys. Take a look at it." That goes a long way. One other thing I think I really enjoyed as a prep school coach was when college coaches came to practice and they really sat back and they gave you some good feedback on your practices. And again, it's about being open and honest, and I feel like I got a pretty thick skin, and I wanted that feedback. I wanted to know what they liked, what they didn't like. What drills they thought really helped us, or what was something that they took from our practice that they could apply in their practice, or whatever that may be. I really think I became a better coach throughout the years, just picking coaches' brains when they came to practice. That's something you can do to also build a relationship. But guys, all in all, like anything, it's an art. It's not a science. It's about being a good person. It's about genuinely building relationships. It's not always about talking business. It's about, it's about caring for them and get to know them, because everything comes back around at some point. You don't want to be a flash in the pan in this business. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So everything comes back around, and you want to do everybody right. And I encourage you to do that. But again, I know we've got some really, really good speakers coming up. I don't want to take too much of your time. But if I can answer anything, by all means, I'll be happy to do that.
Again, if we have any questions, just go ahead and unmute yourself, introduce yourself, name and where you're from. Ask your question for Coach Martin.
Hey, Lee. Nigel Thomas, North Carolina Central University, man.
What's up, Coach?
What's going on? Congratulations, man. Happy for you.
Thank you, man.
Well-deserved opportunity. I guess my question for you is, being successful at the prep school level and now going to Division I, what do you think is going to be the biggest adjustment for you moving forward?
That's a great question, man. I think a couple things. I don't, and you can answer this, and Russ and Ronnie, and I don't know who else is D1 on this site right now, but I don't really know what this D1 lifestyle is going to be, Nigel. I don't know if it's going to be luxurious, if it's going to be the same grind. Because I can tell you this, man, at prep schools, you do it all. You are the SID, you are the manager, you are the trainer, you are the bus driver. I know you've been a little bit in D3. It's probably similar. I think the biggest transition, honestly, is knowing what a continuity is going to be on a roster. I think that at Hargrave, you get players for 1 year. and then they move on. You know, they always have bigger dreams and bigger aspirations to go on. When they commit to North Carolina Central or Ohio University, you know, that's their home, that's their careers. And you're going to have them from your freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year a lot of times. And so I think understanding that piece of the puzzle and getting juniors and seniors to lead the young men or to lead the freshmen, sophomores, I don't know what that's like yet. But I'm excited for it. I can already tell you, you know, we've got a great group of guys here, and I can already see our upperclassmen teaching them younger boys how to do things. And the whole time, Nigel, I'm thinking, man, I wish I would have had that at Hargrave. It would have made my life so much easier instead of a bunch of freshmen out there on my own. I don't know if I answered that properly, but man, I'm excited. I mean, I think there's a lot to learn. I think the scouting on your level is going to be completely different. I mean, I think people in Division I go all the way in. In prep school, we kind of lightly touched it and hit it and did some walkthroughs and did what we could. Let me tell you this. Ask me that in 6 months if we have a season, and I'll be happy to answer it.
I got you, man. Hey, I'm still trying to figure it out myself, so okay. Appreciate it, though.
Yeah, man.
All right.
Coach John Mandeldove up here, Winchendon Prep. Question for you: as now, you know, leaving the prep school level, what are some of the relationships that you're going to take with you that you've built over time at the different high schools and local area schools and local AAU programs to the university that you're at right now?
Hargrave alum, baby. Me and you both.
Yes, sir.
Jonathan, that's a great question. One thing I tried to do at Hargrave is treat everybody right and do everybody right. I mean, even our opponents, people we recruit against, people, colleges, everybody, AAU coaches, even when I didn't get their players, I really, really tried to end things well. Because if I ever did get the opportunity to get to college, I wanted to be able to go back and recruit that program. I hope it's going to be everybody that I come in contact with. I hope people say, man, he's a good dude. He does things the right way. He's in it for the kids. He's going to take care of my player. So man, I hope it's going to be multiple guys that I can go back to and say, man, I'm on the other side now. Don't call me a villain. I'm on the dark side of Division I, but I really love to recruit your guys.
There you go.
Lee, what's going on, man? This is Ryan Price, Southern University. How you doing?
I'm good, Coach. How are you?
Doing well. Congratulations on the gig.
Thank you.
Talk a little bit. I don't know. I came in here a little bit late. I don't know if you had mentioned this, but I know you have some experience coaching at the AAU level, grassroots level, with Team Felton. What are some things you feel like you've learned being on that side? Like, what have you learned on that side that you feel could probably carry over for you as an assistant at this level?
Yeah. Well, I would say the biggest one is recruiting. I mean, that AAU recruiting is brutal. I mean, they have to genuinely recruit as hard as college coaches, AAU coaches, that is, I believe. You got to get in there. You got to develop relationships with the parents. You gotta show them why your program, can help them get to where they want to go and all that good stuff. I mean, it's a dog-eat-dog world, as we all know, in recruiting, at all levels. I also think there's some really good AAU coaches, some really, really good coaches that run good stuff and run good programs, and they hold kids accountable and things like that. I definitely think I've learned from those guys. One thing I've learned in AAU too, the programs that stood the test of time, and we can go through all around the country, the programs that were there 10 years ago and the programs that are going to be there 10 years from now. What do they do right? You know, what are they doing that some of these other AU programs aren't doing? And one thing I've learned is they might take a couple players at a couple, different players at a couple different events. But for the most part, they're keeping their core players with them from 15U, 16U, 17U, all the way through, maybe adding a player or two throughout. But they're not flipping teams every weekend. They have a really good team for even a summer, but it's not something that's sustainable. It's something that I've learned too.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, man.
You got any more questions for Coach Martin?
Dave, let's get on with this, man. Let's get on to the big show.
As you say, Coach, your wish is my command. Coach, I appreciate you coming on. Hopefully this was beneficial for you. And one of your first speaking gigs as a newly minted college assistant coach. So I'm just glad that you gave us the time tonight and excited to learn from these next two. So Coach Martin, thank you for coming on. Next up, we'll go to Coach Ronnie Hamilton, assistant coach at Ole Miss. I had the pleasure of meeting Coach Hamilton when he was at the assistant at the Citadel under Coach Conroy, on staff with Coach Novak and Coach Andy Fox. So he actually recruited a couple of their players when I was at Anderson and from the Citadel. So I had the pleasure of meeting Coach Hamilton and followed his journey as he's moved on from there. So really excited to hear from Coach Ronnie Hamilton. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Ronnie Hamilton, assistant coach, Ole Miss.
Dave, can you hear me? Good. Hey, thank you for inviting me. Coach Martin, you can tell he was a pass first guard because he quickly shot that thing to me, man. So I was ready in the corner, ready to take that pass, and hopefully I can knock it down in this time that we have. But again, man, thank you, Dave, for inviting me. It's an honor to be on. I've watched Dave in this pandemic, this COVID time, be really active in a lot of these platforms, taking in knowledge, and obviously he's led the way in his own platform with this particular Monday night every week, 18 strong, helping grow the game. So I know the people that's on here can appreciate the things that you've done to help the profession grow during this time. And, it's like in the game we're coaching, a lot of us can attest to this. We all fighting for momentum. We're trying to get a 10-0 run or 8-2 run and keep the momentum. And so, man, the thing that I've really been happy to see with Dave is he's kept the momentum through all of the COVID to keep this going. And on one of the very first ones I was on, I think with Coach Huff and the guys down in Georgia, I see him here as well. And I said, hey, this is going to be a great thing. You can really, really grow as a coach during this time if you take advantage of some of these opportunities. And you've certainly done that, with the platform that you've had here. And so you've kept the momentum. So I encourage and challenge you to continue to keep the momentum. This has been a great thing. And hopefully I can share some things with you guys today, tonight, that you can take with you. I'm going to try to be really brief in terms of my journey so we can get into questions. I love when we can share. And I've said this before in some other Zooms, this is for me as much as it is me being able to share some things with you guys. It's just as much for me to be able to learn myself. So, man, feel free at any point in time to unmute, stop, ask a question. You don't have to wait until the end of it. I really like that Q&A part of it to give, stories or anything that may come up. Again, man, this is something that I said it at the very, very beginning, and I think that was maybe early March that, man, this is something that I wanted to see continue to go and grow, even when we got back to working in a normal way. And it's not normal right now, but we are back in the offices. I know a lot of us are back working with our teams. So it gets a little harder to jump on these. It's not as easy when we were at home, but if we continue to share and grow together, man, we can all be better for the game. So with that being said, again, thank you, Dave. Real quickly, the people who know me, and I know it's a few on here that know me, know my story, and for the ones that do not, what I've said in terms of just my journey is to kind of sum it up and give you the short version is I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to be on a Zoom with you guys talking about coaching in college basketball. I'm not supposed to be at Ole Miss. For me, I'm not supposed to be coaching in college basketball. As Coach Martin mentioned, and he said it about his, I've got a really unconventional path in terms of me being in college basketball, me coaching here at Ole Miss and the SEC and all the places that I've been. I was a two-sport guy in high school. I love playing basketball. It's my first love, and I also played football. As I got through high school, it became, apparent that I was going to be better playing football than it was basketball. And so I went on and played college football, but I've always had this hunger and this desire and this itch to be a college basketball coach. It just kind of was something that was planted in me probably when I was 12, 13 years old. And so I knew when I got done playing football, whenever that time would be, I had a dream, really two dreams. I had a dream of playing in the NFL, and I had a dream of coaching college basketball. They want one that didn't coexist with the other. And so it came to be where when I got done playing, I had a small cup of tea with the Giants, didn't quite make it and accomplish the first dream or one of my dreams. But then at that point in time, I started really chasing this passion of coaching college basketball. And so for me at that point in time, I kind of had to figure out how do I accomplish that? How do I get started? How do I kind of break into a profession that, really it wasn't a path for me to do it. And so I tell a lot of young coaches that I talk to and come in contact with or just communicate about kind of what's allowed me to get to this point is I was never afraid to fail, and I was never afraid of no's. And so what I did was, this is, a year after college, a year after getting cut in training camp, knowing that I was going to try to pursue this profession, I just started calling college programs. I called my alma mater. I went to Duke University, just looking for an opportunity to volunteer. Whatever I could do to kind of break into the profession. Much like I'm sure a lot of you young coaches on here, you just trying to find a way to get started. And the first opportunity I had to coach wasn't the ideal one because it wasn't in college. I had always wanted to coach in college, but I actually got an opportunity to coach in high school at a school called Jack Britt High School in Fayetteville, North Carolina. I took the job because they said I can coach the varsity basketball program and coach football. They more so had an idea of coaching football because of my background. And so I just took it because I was going to have an opportunity to get on the basketball side of things. I knew my long-term goal, but this was going to be the first step I felt in my opinion, my eyes, that allowed me to even pursue it at all. And so through that opportunity, what I ended up doing was I kept just kind of really trying to just, at that point in time, that 1 year I coached in high school, calling people, trying to just figure out how to get into college, because that was my ultimate goal. And so there was a school about 20 minutes up the road called UNC Pembroke, which is a Division II school. And man, I got a chance to go there on occasion and watch practices, get to know their staff. And immediately that year after at Jack Britt, I coached football, coached basketball there. They had a grad assistant position come open. And so, I immediately applied for the position and then just got fortunate enough to get the job. And so, my whole deal, and I tell this to a lot of guys, is I just felt like I just needed one opportunity. And I had enough confidence in myself to say if I got one opportunity, then I was going to take that opportunity and turn it into another opportunity. And that's really kind of what's been really kind of the key to my path. I've been fortunate and blessed to have a lot of people help me along the way. And I say that all the time, man. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for somebody else blessing me and pushing me forward. But I took that opportunity at UNC Pembroke to be a grad assistant, and it was the best thing for me as a guy who, again, didn't have a conventional path. As a grad assistant at Division II level, for anybody that hadn't been at that level, you get a chance to do everything. You're practically on the floor coaching. You're kind of thrown into the fire. So you get an opportunity to recruit, you get an opportunity to do scouting reports, you get an opportunity to do workouts. You get to really fully ingrain and immerse yourself in all the responsibilities that come with coaching at any level. And so it was great for me because I got hands-on experience, and I wasn't necessarily in one of those positions to where I was maybe doing more administrative stuff. Nothing wrong with that. Everybody has a different path, but for me, it was great. I got a chance to, like I said, jump into every aspect of it. Really at an early age, trying to figure it out. And so when I was there for 2 years, got my master's. Didn't make a lot of money, which again, I didn't get in it for that reason. I got into it because I just had a passion for coaching and wanted to, be involved in basketball and help young guys grow in the game, And so after 2 years there, got my master's, and then it was, okay, what's next? How do I get to be a full-time coach at the college level? And so I was never afraid of no's. I was never afraid of failures. And I just, again, I was trying to get that next opportunity. And the other thing that I tell guys all the time, your best, for lack of better words, agent, or the people that's going to help you the most, or the people that you work with. And so along the way, I've realized early on that I had to be the best at where I was at to allow me to continue to grow and have success in coaching. And so when I was at UNC Pembroke, man, I treated it like my dream job, because it was the job I had. I dreamed of being a college basketball coach, and I was a college basketball coach in that job and in that role. And so because of that, as I was looking to go and advance and to get my next job, the head coach there at the time, Jason Tinsley, was my biggest advocate. And it just so happened that late in that summer, an opening came up at Tarleton State University, which is in Texas, another Division II school. Coach Tinsley had been a JUCO coach prior to coming there and becoming the head coach, and had a player go play for the head coach at the time there, Lon Reisman. They had a relationship. And so when that opening came up, Coach Tinsley quickly picked up the phone and told Coach, you've got to interview this assistant that I've had. He's worked with me. He works his tail off. He's passionate about it. He's going to do things the right way. And again, I was blessed and I was fortunate to get to Tarleton State. And so again, I just wanted one opportunity, and I had confidence in myself that I was going to turn that opportunity to another opportunity. And so from there, I went from Tarleton State to the Citadel, which was my first Division I job. Again, and Lee mentioned earlier, as you grow in the profession, you get an opportunity to establish and develop genuine relationships. There's difference in having acquaintances and building relationships. And it was those meaningful, genuine relationships that allowed me to have every opportunity that I've had in coaching. And whether it was from Tarleton State to the Citadel, I was there for 2 years. Like Dave mentioned, worked for Coach Conroy, learned a tremendous amount from him. And then from there, we won as a staff, and we went to Tulane University in New Orleans. And from there, went to the University of Houston again. A relationship allowed me to get to the University of Houston. Was there for 2 years. And at that point in time, they say you're not a college basketball coach until you get fired. And that was the first time, that happened. And so here I was again. Now I reached a kind of a point where all these short-term goals that I had up until that point, coaching college basketball, I accomplished that. Become a Division I assistant coach, I accomplished that. become a mid-major coach. Two times in conference USA, accomplished that. Become a high major coach. At the time, University of Houston was going to the old Big East, which that was the Georgetown and Syracuse before all the conference realignment. So at that point in time, I'm saying now I've become a high major assistant coach. So I had all these goals that I had along the way that I had accomplished. And then now all of a sudden I was told, you're no longer, what you did wasn't good enough. You're no longer a college basketball coach. You got to get your things out of the office. And we were fired there. But it goes back to what I said earlier. I was never afraid of failure. I was never afraid of no's. And in that moment of necessarily being considered a failure in the sense that we didn't get the job done enough to continue to be the coach there, I said it was a challenge for me to grow and be even better. And so, again, I was blessed, even though at the time I didn't have a job, to get hired by Kermit Davis at Middle Tennessee State. And, we had an unbelievable run there for 4 years. And then again, Coach got hired here to Ole Miss, I guess 2 years ago, going on year 3. So, that's a span of 18 years that I've been doing it. And again, I've been really, really, really fortunate. I've tried to work really, really hard, wherever I've been. And it goes back to what I said before. I've always had the thought and the premise that I was going to treat every job I had like it was my dream job, because it was. I got into it just to, coach college basketball. And so I was as happy to go to UNC Pembroke when I went there. They were 0-28 the year before that, as I was to come to Ole Miss in the SEC. I mean that with the bottom, from the bottom of my heart. But I think because I've always treated it that way, that I think people, see that in my passion and what I do, and it's allowed me, to get some of the opportunities I've been blessed with. The other thing I would tell you, just to drop a few kind of nuggets on you, and this kind of is one of those you would think is something you should know, but I think is as simple as it sounds. It's very, very important, man. Just treat people the right way. So whether I was, a young D2 assistant coach, trying to build relationships or trying to recruit at that level, I just always try to treat people the right way. Now, did I make some mistakes along the way? Yeah, that's where we grow at, right? Our players, do the same thing, and that's part of your growth. But consistently, I've tried to carry that mantra of just treating people the right way, and I think people have appreciated that I've built relationship with people in this profession, whether it be high school coaches, AAU coaches, junior college coaches, whatever you may have it. And I think it served me well, throughout my time as assistant coach at the collegiate level. The other thing, especially for young guys, I tell this all the time, and not just young guys, it's me true. It holds true for me now, 18 years in college basketball and coaching. Ask a lot of questions. You can never know too much. But early on, that was something that, I challenged myself to do. And at the Division II level, I knew I didn't know a whole lot, but I knew I had the resources to figure it out. And I knew I had the passion to try to learn and grow. And so I can remember vividly back then, one of the first things that Coach Tinsley, at the time, Coach Gorman, who was the head coach, first year I was at Pembroke, he said, "You're going to be the strength coach." We didn't have a strength coach. And so what I did was, I called, I kind of just, just through observing and reading, figured out which college programs, looked the part. That's the only way I could tell at the time. But who looked physical and what teams, just carried themselves on the court in a way that, from a weight room standpoint, that was impressive. And so I reached out. I picked 5 and just asked them, okay, what do y'all do in your off-season program? What do you do in your preseason program? What do you do for you have a conditioning time when you get back? And I would have these little notebooks of little things like that. Early on, new recruiting wise, I tried to ask around who the best recruiters, at the Division I level. And sometimes, again, it goes back to I was never afraid of failure. I was never afraid of no's. And so sometimes I would make those calls and wouldn't get an answer, wouldn't get a return call. It didn't piss me off. I just was going to go to the next person and try to gain some knowledge and ask those questions. But I had a little notebook of, 3 or 4 or 5 guys in that area I was in North Carolina, and anybody outside of that I can get a hold to or be on the road with and sit down with, say, hey, what makes you a good recruiter? Tell me, what do you do? What do y'all do as far as mail outs? What do y'all do as far as, we didn't have a lot of the text message and things at that particular time. So mail was huge. What do you send out? But I asked a ton of questions, and along the way, man, it's really, really helped me. And I've tried to, carry that over throughout my coaching career, even now, so now it's, obviously in the off season, especially in times like this where we have more time than maybe we've had in the past, studying teams that are really good on the defensive end. And there's so much technology, there's so much resources available to you from a pure basketball standpoint that you can gain and research and learn and grow as a coach. Obviously these platforms here, to give you a chance to interact and listen to other coaches' journeys and ask those questions that wasn't available then. It was even a little harder at the time. But I tell coaches all the time, man, don't be afraid to ask questions. It's how you grow. It's how you can get better. It's how you can build relationships that we all talk about in this business. The other thing, again, simple things. I know, that may seem obvious, but man, I was really, really organized. That's one of the things I think that's, people say, what's one of your traits that you make you who you are? I'm really organized. I'm not OCD, but there's a little bit in there. But whether it be, I go on the road and I'm out watching an event or an evaluation, and I come back and I want to, have a log or a list of all the guys I've seen that are obviously good at the level that I'm at that particular time, but maybe guys that maybe not quite as good. So I can, like Lee said, I can pick up the phone and say, hey, man, I saw so-and-so. Hey, what we need to recruit are good enough for us. But man, you need to check them out, And I did that a lot as a young coach, especially with guys that were really good. So I'd be on the road and at that time, the Division II level, even sometime maybe even like at a, when I was first at the Citadel, we wasn't recruiting and head-to-head battles with a lot of guys. We had to kind of find it a different way. We were a military school, but I would see guys that were obvious, really good players, and man, pick up the phone and tell maybe a coach that was at a mid-major, high major, I saw kids good enough for you. They may not pick up when you want to ask them, about giving me some advice on this and that, but they'll pay attention, a lot of times when it comes to recruiting. So, but the organized part, that's something that I've always done. So whether it was recruiting and really, and just having notes and keeping your notes and being meticulous about that. If it was about scouting, I still have a folder in my office from all the scouts I've done going back to when I was at the Citadel on every team that I've kept, so the organization is part of it. I do this, we have, we obviously have practice plans, and we're all part of kind of organizing practice. Coach Davis, obviously our head coach, is the one that kind of, he's really hands-on. And so he kind of is the master builder of it. But I keep every practice. We have some coaches and they'll make it right or wrong, but as soon as practice over, they tear practice plan up, throw it in the trash. I've kept every practice, whether it be from Coach Davis to Coach Conroy back at the Citadel and Tulane. And I have a notebook, 2009, 2010 Citadel practice plans. And so the organization part, I think is something that I would say that's helped me, that I think if you can get to where it becomes, part of who you are, can help you as a coach. And so those are some of the things that have been really beneficial for me. But I say it again, man, I've been really, 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 really fortunate, really, really, really blessed to get not just here to Ole Miss, but I'm telling you, whether it was a Citadel, whether it was Tulane, whether it was Tarleton State, whether it was University of Houston, even getting fired, it was a blessing, because I wouldn't have got to Middle Tennessee State if it wasn't for that. But I've been blessed to be helped tremendously along the way. And again, I think I've treated people right, and I think it's kind of came back to me tenfold. So those are some thoughts. I love to get into the question part and really answer any questions and share some other things along the way that have helped me or anything that anybody, that want to ask that's on the panel.
Coach Hamilton.
Yes.
This is Will White. I heard you speak on Coach Gray's Zoom back when all this stuff first started happening. I wanted to ask you could you elaborate on your time at UNCP, how that because you worked for Coach Garman, I worked for Coach Garman, and if it did, how did it help shape your coaching philosophy as it was your first job?
UNCP specifically, in terms of being there, how it shaped me?
Yeah.
Will, yeah, okay, Will, yeah. Man, the Division II level, I tell people, and I think I would probably even put it in comparison to coaching at the junior college level. I don't want to speak for anybody else, but as a young coach, man, it was the best thing that could possibly happen to me, because, as Lee said it earlier, a little bit alluded to it at the prep school level, you have to do everything, right? And so, whether it was be the strength coach, I was the academic advisor as well. You did more non-basketball stuff than you did basketball stuff. Obviously I got a chance to be involved and as I got there, and they built more trust in me to be a part of, doing skill workouts. And so, but what I would do, Will, man, is I would take some managers at that time, because again, I was learning too now. I didn't have, the answers by no stretch at that point in time. I was just trying to get in the door and figure it out a little bit. But I would take managers that we had, and I would put those guys through workouts and really kind of use them as guinea pigs, for lack of better words, and experiment on just, that part of it. And so, to answer your question, I hope I answered it right. The Division II level, because I could get involved and really be hands-on. And again, there's a lot of guys who have been director of ops, and they've been film coordinators, and they've been student assistants who are head coaches at Division I level, right? I mean, student managers or whatever may have you. So there's no scientific formula, no path that you have to take in this profession, which makes it, to me, one of the best there is. But for me and my path, to be able to kind of really get in and hands-on learn, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the Division II level at UNC Pembroke as a grad assistant, and at Tarleton State. You really have to kind of learn how to do it where you don't have all the means. I can remember, again, I'm a add some stories to Tarleton. I know you asked about UNCP, but I can kind of relate because they're both Division II schools. Man, I can remember vividly after the season over, driving from Stephenville, Texas, to Louisiana. To Jackson, Mississippi, and watching the region tournament, and then from there driving to Tennessee to watch a region tournament, then drive down to Chipotle, Mariana to watch Chipotle, drive back to Tennessee next day to watch the finals, go up to watch Alabama. So you have an appreciation, I think, when you're at a place like that, that you don't maybe have all the resources or limited resources. When you don't have as big a staff, you've got to do more. You learn to multitask. You learn to appreciate what you do have, and as you maybe get more, as you advance, in the profession. But I think it just really helps you grow as a coach, man. And again, it was the best thing ever for me to coach at UNC Pembroke, to get my start there, to coach at that level, and it's helped me tremendously along the way. It really has gave me a foundation that's been a part of who I am and part of me being where I'm at right now.
Speaking of foundations, this is Matt. I spent like 10 days with y'all in February.
Yeah, Matt, how you doing, man?
I'm living the dream. Just free agent. It's fine. But basically, the lessons, you were at a place that was 0-28. but also you were at a place like Middle Tennessee where you had 4 years of general stability of being near the top of Conference USA. And then you go to Ole Miss, make the tournament right away. And then you have a season where it had its ups. The downs were pretty down. And then you had more ups. And then you had more downs. What lessons have you learned from helping build programs that, if any, I'm sure there has, to help deal with those, keeping it in that day to day when there are a lot more instabilities with a young team?
Yeah, great question. I would say this, man, you got to fight for your culture every day. All right. You know, when I was at UNC Pembroke, you know, I took the job and I didn't even know the record beforehand. I mean, I just wanted to be a coach. But with that being said, like as we were trying to build it, you know, we were fighting for our culture every day. And Coach Davis at Ole Miss, and who I work for, obviously at Middle as well, it's a term and a thought that he talks about all the time. And you know, to be honest, I was, you know, stealing that from Coach, but it resonates with me. And I've seen it, you know, allow us to be successful when we're at Middle because, you know, he had some success even before I got there. And it was not partly, it was a lot of because there was a culture there in place, but then there was never any slippage. So as we were there and we had more success, you know, we fought for that culture every day. And when I say that, I mean, you know, when we practice, man, the pace of practice was game speed, you know, was full speed. When we were executing maybe 5-on-0, the details, executing 5-on-0, 1 hour practice in July was the same as it was in November as we were getting ready for our first game. And that also extended to off the court, Matt. I mean, if we said, hey, guys, if you don't go to class, this is what happens, and they didn't go to class, that was part of our culture. So there was no slippage. So we fought for our culture every day to where the point where even what Coach Martin said, and he's seen a little bit at Ohio U, what you hope is that those older guys start to show the young guys, this is what we do and why we do, and this is why we win. All right. And so what we're finding here at Ole Miss is, you know, we had some veteran guys. First year, we were able to have some success. We were a little younger the second year, but we are still in a point where we are fighting for our culture. So, you know, the continuity and the consistency is there, you know, on an every year basis. And, you know, again, I don't want to speak for anybody, but respectful, I think I see AB on here and the guys at Baylor, man, you know, Coach Drew, he was there when I was at Tarleton State, and to see the success they've had, you can tell that there's they know they have their niche. They know they you know what they want to do in terms of playing and how they want to play and winning games, the type of guys they want to program, the way all those things. So, you know, I know culture gets thrown around sometimes, you know, loosely, but I think the great programs, you know, they have a culture in place. They have some non-negotiables that make up what they do every day, and then they fight for those things every day. And I think that's how you get consistency, and that's how you get long-term success.
Ronnie, what's going on, man? Ryan Price.
Price, man, what's going on? Good to see you.
Good to see you, bro. You have had quite a bit of a journey as far as the levels you've been at. Kind of talk about, I mean, you've been at a Division II, you've been low major, mid major, high major. Talk about some of the things that you've picked up along the way at each one of those levels.
Yeah, great question. You know, I think basketball is basketball. You know, I think relationships are relationships. I think that, you know, what I would say to that is, you know, you have to continue to learn how to balance your time as you and I hate to use the word, low major, mid major, high major. I just I just think basketball is basketball. We get afforded some more opportunities and resources sometimes, at the SEC level than maybe I had when I was at the Citadel. But I do think you have to really balance your time a little bit more. At this level, for lack of better words, there's some things that you can get pulled in different ways, and people can tug on you a little bit more, both in the actual basketball part and off the basketball in terms of family. So I hope I'm asking your question right. I mean, I think that's the biggest, maybe, not necessarily struggle, but the biggest maybe difference for me, for me. But I think, the basketball part and the recruiting part, it really comes back, again, to relationships and your guys, man. Basketball is basketball. I think sometimes we can overcoach the game, for me, what I also think, like the thing that we try to do every day, Price, man, is how can we make the life of our players better every day. So if we wake up and have that mindset, it doesn't matter what level you're at, right? And again, resources may be a little bit different, but if I'm investing in those guys every single day, trying to pour into them and get them to be better players and better young men, then that's going to pay off in your program and with your guys and with your teams. But, again, man, I just, I think, being at a lot of different levels has helped me, because, again, it's more so just the appreciation part of it, knowing that, like I'll give you a perfect example. So one of the things that I figured out very early, man, like, for example, when I was at the Citadel, even at Division II level, even at Tulane, like I had to maximize my time, so, we didn't have a huge budget to go recruiting, right? So if I was on the road going out to see a kid, man, I was trying to find out if I was going to watch a practice at, let's say, 5 o'clock, and I was going to try to figure out who else in that area, whether it be a coach, whether it be another kid that I could go see at 2 o'clock. And then maybe I'm going to even try to see, get there if I can early enough to watch a morning practice, because I knew like I had to make use of that particular day and that particular time based on resources we had. I was going to maximize my time. I was going to, figure out how to, get as much done in one day as I possibly could. So it served me as the same way, now being at Ole Miss. If I'm on the road now, I may be able to fly to a place as opposed to driving. But when I get there, I'm trying to figure out if I can go have lunch with this particular AAU coach, if I can, go watch a morning workout at 8 a.m., if I can get in the gym, see somebody, obviously afternoon practice, or if it's a game, and then after the game, if time permits, maybe see somebody, have dinner with another coach. So, there's things along the way that you have to do, maybe at a level where, again, the resources, maybe not as much, but you can figure out how I can help you when you get to this level. So I hope that answered the question, a little bit.
Ronnie, Gamali at Halleckville, University of South Dakota. Thanks for getting on here and sharing your story. My question will kind of stay along those same lines as Price asked, but I'm going to go more into the evaluation piece. You talk about your background playing football and wanting to get in when you finally got in. Talk to me about kind of what you learned as far as how to evaluate and to figure out what type of players you need when you're at the Division II school, and what you learned from there, and how either you stuck with those same principles to the higher level you got, or did you learn some other things to the higher level you got to? So let's talk about that evaluation piece within the recruiting and all that stuff, from what you learned at the very beginning to now.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And I'll say this, man, you asking that kind of brings it back to Price a little bit. I'll say this, like I've always prided myself on being a good evaluator. Now, I guess that's just me kind of patting myself on the back. But I can remember, and it kind of speaks to the point of always wanting to be a college basketball coach. This kind of itch, passion I had, way back when. I remember when I was a middle schooler going to watch Bob Gibbons Tournament of Champions in Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill, and it was no no EYBL. So, you had the who's who, it was cross shoe companies and everybody played everybody. And I would just watch those games and take notes. I would try to sit beside Brick Ettinger, who had the big magazine at that particular time, and just kind of listen in the conversations. And so I kind of for a long time been watching and evaluating, even when I wasn't evaluated, to try to sign guys. And so, but specifically in terms of, what I look for, so to speak, and I'll say this as well, I'll add this to it. I think, the evaluation piece is missed a lot of times as part of what it means to be a good recruiter. Because if you can't evaluate, and I'll say this as well, like I think, at the and we've talked about levels now a little bit. I think at the low major level, or lower levels, or mid major, low major, T2, whatever, I think I would argue you have to be a better evaluator than you do at the high major level, because you can't rely on as much, a list, and those guys are a lot of times a little bit more obvious, and then it's all relative. I mean, there's if you take the top 50 guys, what separates one from 50. But for example, when I was at the Citadel, we were a military school, and we were in the SoCon, which was College of Charleston, Davidson, App State, Western Carolina. The list goes on. It was a great league. It's been a few kind of realignment now. It's changed the league, but it was UNC Greensboro. Steph Curry was in the league. College Charleston was really, really good. So I say all that to say, if a school had an option of going to a military school or another school in our league, much less than just another Division I school, we weren't going to get them. And so we had to really evaluate guys that maybe weren't quite what you would consider Division I guys, but maybe it was a little bit, undersized. Maybe just, was elite shooter, maybe just, high IQ, to get that kid and still be successful. When I first got in it, I wanted to just recruit. I knew what evaluation meant. I knew I can go walk in the gym and see, who's good and who's not. So even early on, like I, just athletic, athleticism was, the thing, guys. But as I got a little older, and the Citadel was really, to answer your question, man, a great place for me because of all the things I mentioned. You had to kind of even look beyond it, because again, we want to get the best athlete. And so what I figured out, what I discovered, and I've kind of held true to this since then, is a couple of things. Always motor and toughness, stick out to me. Number one. If a kid has motor and toughness, I'll take a kid a little bit tougher and has a motor than a kid a little bit more. We had an argument in our staff the other day, and that's me. I don't know how many would agree on this panel, but if it's close, obviously it's close. The kid has motor and toughness, but I'm talking about it's. I'm gonna take that kid, and that just sticks out to me because you win with those guys. In my opinion, they get a lot done. They can help you when they're not scoring the basketball. So motor and toughness. And then, I think guys that have a great feel, and that can be, at different positions. But I think, guys that just know how to play basketball, just subtle things you watch. Man, guys just make an extra pass, may not lead to an assist, but they made the pass that made the pass. Guys just, screening. And I watch guys play and screening and understanding, guy may come off a screen and may curl and they just pop back. Just little things that if you really, I think, paying attention, you can get a sense of feel. Obviously, I think shooting is a premium at any level. If you can put the ball in the basket, you can make shots, you can find usually a place on the floor. And so those were three things that we need to find the citadel. There's three things I think that you can kind of, out evaluate a guy, so to speak. If you can really hone in on that, got to be talent, no doubt about it. Kids got to have talent. But those three things for me are kind of outliers and the very best players I've had. If I go back, and the other thing I did too, as far as learning, learning, even trying to be a better evaluator, it goes back to being really organized. I always keep a list when I went to an event, right? And I'll say this, Coach Conroy even made me that much more aware of it, because he required you to have a list when you left. Like, he wanted like a handwritten report. If you went to watch Sean Williams' event in Atlanta, if you watched 10 teams, he wanted a report on every team. So he helped me even grow in that aspect. But I would keep a list for me personally, being organized, like I mentioned. And so I would even do like a self-check. I was like, man, I thought this kid I made it. So 2 years down the line, and a kid would go, and if he went to, Maryland, wherever it may be, and he wasn't, successful, I thought he was really good, I go back and try to, in my mind, remember why I thought he was good, what made him good. And so I was kind of self-checking myself all along the way. And I think, just through all those different things, some of it's where I've been, some of it's just my nature. I think just in terms of what I value when I watch guys play, the self-checking part, the being organized part, it's helped me kind of get to a point where now, being here, I think the evaluation piece is critical. And so those are some of the thoughts. I hope they kind of answer your question.
Yeah, no, that was very good. I'm always curious to hear people's journeys, especially when it comes to evaluation, because obviously with where we're at, we got to be very good at that, especially for people that come from different levels and are at the high major level. So
yeah, I'll say this. Yeah, and I'll just add this to it. And again, I don't want to hold the panel hostage. I know we got Coach Irvin coming on, but in this time of COVID, I've grown as a coach in terms of evaluation. I think even from a film standpoint, I've always been one. I want to see it in person. Like coach, like, man, hey, see this guy, watch film, and I watch it, but I want to go see him in person and really get a live experience to tell, what I saw. I necessarily didn't trust film. But because of COVID, we've had to rely on live streams, and I'll tell you, I watched more film in the last 4 months of games, man. I feel like I've gotten better in using that tool to evaluate, and so it's just an ever evolving, ever growing thing in terms of trying to be good at figuring out obviously who can help you and who's going to be good and who has a ceiling to continue to get better.
Ronnie, what's up, man? It's Russ.
Russ, how you doing?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
Good.
Can you talk about a little bit about, you've been involved with some head jobs, kind of that process of going from that assistant, your mindset going from assistant to head coach, and how you're preparing for that?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'm gonna have to reference my guy AB again, because I see him on here. He's coined it better than anybody. You gotta be ready, and I say that with a lot of respect to him, but really to answer your question, what I've tried to do, it goes back to what I said a little bit earlier, Russ, man. When I was as I was moving in the profession, I've always been a goal-oriented guy. And so, again, I wanted to be a college basketball coach. That was the first goal. Man, I got to UNC in Pembroke. Man, I'm here. I did it. I want to be a Division I coach. Took 5 years. I'm at the Citadel. Man, I did it. I want to be a mid-major coach, high major, kind of mid-major / high major coach. I get to Tulane, get to University of Houston. Man, I did it. Boom, we get fired. So at that point in time, when we got let go at the University of Houston, and I go to middle, I finally figured out, or not necessarily finally figured out, the next goal was I want to be a head coach. I want to control my own. I've reached all these milestones, so to speak, and here I am. I got fired. I had to find another job. Yeah, I'm blessed. I got another one, but I want to be a head coach. I want to try to control my own destiny. And so what I started doing at that point in time, it was not about trying to be this next assistant coach. It was trying to be a head coach. So my thought process changed, Russ, to where I tried to, on a day-to-day basis, think like a head coach. And so, with Coach Davis, like some of the conversations and questions that I would ask were more in line with thinking about being a head coach. And so, we've been together 6 years now. And from the time I've gotten with him, I think I've grown, a ton. But it's because of that mindset, the be ready mindset, So whether it's coach, man, what were you thinking when you did this? Or, obviously having conversations and picking head coaches' brains and then there's other things as far as, dealing with search firms and getting to know those people and being more cognizant of having a relationship with ADs and assistant ADs and all those things. But it's because of that thought process of them try to think like a head coach. I never really wanted to do a lot with fundraising. That just kind of wasn't my deal, But again, with that mindset of I'm gonna try to think like a head coach because that's a goal of mine. I got now, Coach. Hey, can I go speak to our 6-man club now? And I remember even with these, and I love sharing and I love listening, and I hope I brought some value to Dave's 18th. But I remember it was one Russ this. I forget exactly, but it was the Indiana High School Association. So they heard me speak, and the guy was on there. He texted me next day, hey, can you come speak to our group next week? Sure. Well, yeah, hey, I'm there. Tell me when and where, what you want me to speak on. And I got on. It was one guy I think it was 2 guys on the Zoom, him, me, and another guy. And, man, I just enjoyed that as much as any other Zoom because even though it was an audience of 3 or 2, at the time, and it was me getting to practice being a head coach in terms of just we were talking defensive shell drill, and so to answer your question, I think just and I tell this to guys too, like if I'd have figured this out a little earlier, I'd probably be even a better assistant coach at some of the places I was at if I was thinking like a head coach, when I was younger, because at the end of the day. We all want to do the best job we can to help our team be successful. And if you have that mindset, I think it really, really will, not only, like I said, help you, but help your head coach, help your program, help your players. And, so I hope that kind of shed some light on it a little bit, Russ. I think there's obviously some things you got to do outside. That's a whole nother conversation and topic, maybe just some things you can do to maybe position yourself to be a head coach. But I think if you're an assistant coach and you're thinking like a head coach every day, then when you get that opportunity, you'll be more prepared. It's obviously when you get there, like Lee said, you think you know everything, you find out quickly. And I can only imagine it's going to be so much that you're going to have to learn on the fly, But I think if you're thinking about those things beforehand, you'll be much more prepared when you do, if you do, and hopefully I do at some point get that opportunity.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
Time for one more question. Coach Belfield, you have one?
Yeah, how you doing, Coach? David Belfield from West Point.
How you doing, David?
Doing well. My question is, besides being goal-oriented and, wanting to climb to those levels and reach your goals, what kind of went into your thought process along your journey when it was time to make a decision like, hey, do I leave this school to go to this school? Like, who were you including in those conversations and how did you make those decisions?
Yeah, man, that's a tremendous question, man. So I've been at, man, I want to say it's 7 universities in 18 years. So I've had to make that decision a few times, right? And for me, what I was able to do very early on is find a few guys and again, go back to the relationship part, that were mentors for me. They were older guys that had been in the profession that I could lean on, for advice, and lean on just to grow as a coach. And I would tell all young guys, and I know this is sometimes hard because it's easier said than done, but if you can find a way, 2 or 3, older coaches, and just guys that's been in it, kind of walk the shoes, the path that you walk or want to walk, and let them kind of mentor you, for lack of a better word. It'll help you kind of do what you just said, figure out, your journey, and they'll help you along the way too, as well as this decision part of it. But with those few guys that I was able to kind of have as mentors early on, any job, that I came up for, some I got, some I didn't get, I would lean on them. And one of the first things that I would ask, or they would even ask back to me, is who you working for. And so I think, when you're trying to make a decision about, making a move, I think it's very important to know, who you're working for. Sometimes you don't have control of that. Sometimes you may have to take a chance. And is this one lady told me this before her son made a decision not too long ago. She said, you can make the right decision or you can make the decision right. And so sometimes you got to go as you're trying to move, and you may end up working for a guy that may not be the best. You got to make that decision right. But I think that's an important thing you got to try to figure out early on, or as you're making moves, who you're working for, and then ultimately who you're working with too. And again, when you're young, and you're trying to trying to advance in the profession, you don't always have the ability to say, make that say no, or have your have a not necessarily a choice, but sometimes you gotta jump out on faith and like I said, make it work. But those were some of the first questions I would ask. Location didn't really matter. If I was trying to move, money wasn't really a big factor. Now as you get older and you have family, a lot of other things come into play. But I would really, man, I try to do a really great job of figuring out who I was going to be working with, what they stood for, could they help grow me as a coach? And then also, could you be involved? Like, what was maybe the expectations of who you work for in terms of what you were going to be allowed to do, working for them. I tried as best I could, and I share this with you, because we're here, and if we're on this thing, we're in it to share. I had an opportunity to go to Coastal Carolina early on in my coaching career, actually when I was at the Citadel, and I made a decision not to go. And nothing against Coach Ellis, and if any of you guys are Coach Ellis guys, Cliff, fans, I think he's a tremendous coach. Again, nothing against him, but at that particular time, as I was asking, and not only people that I felt were mentors, but felt there were guys that even worked for them, that man, I was going to be more of just a recruiter. You just get on the road, you recruit guys, you don't do anything else. He may not want you to see you in the office for 3 months, and that just wasn't going to be my deal. So I made a decision not to take that particular job because of that reason in a lot of ways. So I think if you're thinking about making a move as you're advancing, but the biggest thing to me is you got to have some mentors that you can call on. Obviously, you pray on it and those things. I always would do that. But you got to have some mentors that can help you know who you're working for, and if that situation will help you grow as a coach.
Thank you, Coach.
Yep.
Coach Hamilton, I appreciate you coming on and sharing with us. Hopefully it was beneficial for you as well as the people that learned from you. I think I know I got a lot of good notes over here from what you shared, and then obviously the answers that you provided in the questions. So thank you again for coming on and sharing with us. Hopefully it was beneficial for you.
Man, I appreciate it again, Dave, man. Thanks so much, man. This is an unbelievable panel. I was on Coach Martin. I'm a huge fan of Coach. I've been in Hargrave. I've watched his teams practice. I don't know Coach Irvin great, but I've got a lot of people that know him and speak so highly of him. So to be on with this panel, man, is I'm honored, man. And I hope you guys took a few things from it. If I didn't get to any questions that you guys may have, I'll drop my email and cell phone in there. Feel free to shoot me a text, shoot me an email. I'm available to anybody that wants to follow up, post this virtual. And again, Dave, man, thanks for what you're doing. You're growing the game, man. Keep the momentum going. You're on a 20-0 run right now. Keep that thing going down, man. You're on the way to having a blowout win, man. So keep it going. And again, just appreciate the time and thank everybody for tuning in.
Absolutely. Thanks again, Coach. Last up tonight, go to Coach Lance Irvin at Chicago State. Gotten to hear Coach Irvin speak a couple times through this pandemic, through Alvin Brooks' Be Ready platform. So I want to thank him and really excited to get Coach Irvin on here. Obviously, his name goes a long way in Chicago basketball circles with his family. So obviously, I'm sure he'll get into that. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Coach Lance Irvin.
Can you hear me, Dave? Okay, no, I apologize for that. But first and foremost, I want to thank you for having me on. I mean, it's been a long day, y'all. You know, my sister-in-law, Corey Irvin, is down there laughing because one thing I did during the COVID was I started this podcast called What's Up, Cuz, because I was trying to get better. So I'm wearing my headphones because I don't want my voice to give out. But, man, Dave, I appreciate you. Coach Martin, Coach Hamilton. I tell you what, Dave, this is what you should have did. You should have let me and Coach Hamilton tag team that thing. Because when he started talking about some stuff I know oh too well. But one thing, man, the reason why I came on here with you, Dave, because your title was good. Because, hey, I got a journey. You talking about Coach Hamilton, you almost didn't make it. I literally, when I get to telling y'all my journey, seriously, I almost didn't make it. And some of y'all that's on here might know it, but the one thing Coach Martin touched on, because I keep seeing Ryan Price on there, and I know that's Tick Price's son, and I haven't really had an opportunity to meet Ryan. But one thing Lee was saying, like how some coaches used to come to their practice right, they weren't dressed right, they weren't looking right. So I talked to Tick Price last week, like, because Tick was like one of my father's favorite, and you talked about AAU, and I go back to that. So I was talking to Coach Price. I said, hey, Coach, man, my father loves you. I said, when you came into the gym, he was like, ooh, there go my man Tick Price. Look like money, smelling like money. So Tick Price came in there. Coach Thomas, he had on three-piece suit, shoes, Gucci shoes on. I don't know if it was Gucci back then, but they looked like Gucci. Man, Coach came in there. He started talking. I got fired up. I was like, you know what, Coach? I need to go to your school because whatever you doing, I like his personality and stuff. But one thing is that I started off, y'all. I'm from Chicago, and I'm gonna basically tell y'all know people from Chicago. Akeem will tell you, my sister-in-law tell you, we grind, we tough. So I was kind of like Patrick Beverly before Patrick Beverly. Like I guard you 94 feet. There's probably only one person on this Zoom I can't guard. And that's my sister-in-law, because she shoots that thing from deep, and I can't really foul it the way I want to. But she talks stuff when we play also. Akeem talk crazy too, see. But now I started off, y'all. I played in high school. I went to Julian High School. There, my journey really got started, man. And my journey is so crazy and so interesting, man. They need to write a script on how crazy my stuff is. So I'm from Chicago. I'm playing pretty good. I'm like one of the top 100 players in the country. I go to Nike camp, y'all. I'm playing good. That's how old I am, y'all. So I'm not trying to tell you my age because I look young. That's why I shaved my head off. But I go to Nike camp. I'm playing good, right? So I get back. Playing good. I go up. I could jump a little bit there. So I get bridge. So now I kind of wanted to go to Arizona back then. So I remember Lute Olson was calling me. But that was the same time Steve Kerr tore his knee up. So I remember they was over in Tokyo. So I get a call, Coach Tucker, like, man, Lance, you just tore your knee up. Steve Kerr about to have a knee surgery. So, him and Kevin O'Neal talking to me. So I'm feeling a little bit down, but that's all right, though. I said, you know what, man? I'm going to go out and kill somebody the next day. So I go out there, I play good, whatever. So my brother Byron was at Missouri. So I had like Missouri, Northwest, Colorado State. Now I'm telling y'all, I was like Patrick Beverly. So the coach at Colorado State was a guy by the name of Boyd Grant. Boyd Grant loved defense. So I was a defensive guy. So my brother Byron, like, he used to tell me when I played with him back in high school, man, if you come out here scared, I'm going to fight you after the game. So I'm like, no, I'm not going to play with him. I'm not going to play with you. So I end up, instead of going to Missouri, Northwestern, Wisconsin, I go to Colorado State. So then, but I go there now because Coach Grant was probably one of the best defensive coaches in the country back then. A lot of these people talk about the pack line defense and all that stuff. Yeah, the pack line is good, but I played against the pack line when I was in school. Dick Bennett, Tony Father, was the coach. The score of that game we played them, y'all, was 34-32. That's how much defense that we played. So now I go to Colorado State. I'm having a great time, because one thing I said before I went there was like, I'm going to come so we can make the tournament. See, I'm from Chicago. I'm talking crazy. Colorado State hadn't been to the tournament in years, so I'm talking crazy. Get there the first we win. The next year, y'all, I turn around, got to have knee surgery again. So I really started thinking like, man, you know what? I need to start thinking like a coach. And I played for coaches where they actually let you coach. My high school coach, Coach Williams, I was kind of heavy back there, y'all. So he'd call me over to the bench. I played on varsity the first year, my freshman year. So he'd say, fat boy, what you see out there? What you see out there? So that's when I really start thinking about coaching back then. So it kind of dawned on me like my freshman year. So I get hurt, to make a long story short. Coach Grant, hey Dave, make sure you could cut me off and they could start asking me questions because my story is so crazy. But I'm gonna hurry up because I don't want y'all falling asleep on me. I know how y'all do. Y'all not gonna fall asleep on me. So, so, so my sophomore year, I'm doing good. I was supposed to start my freshman year. I get hurt. My sophomore year, I'm supposed to start. So lo and behold, I get hurt. So now I didn't hurt my knee twice. I got bone on bone and can't really play. So the coach was like, look, Lance, man, they won't let me play you. I'm like, they won't let you play me. What? He's like, no, the doctors won't let me play you. So, I end up, the team goes to the tournament that year, but they let me practice a little bit. So I'm mad. I'm killing people in practice, but I'm still mad. So due to the fact that I was really recruited back in high school, Larry Stacy, who Coach Hamilton should know, he was the coach at Ball State. So Larry Stacy gets the job at Idaho, right? So I go to Idaho, never seen it. Dave, I just wanted to go play. I just wanted to play again. So I go to Idaho. I go to Idaho, Big John. We out there, Coach Stacy. I tell you what, I don't know if y'all heard of Larry Stacy, y'all, but Coach Stacy, that was his first college job. And I'm going to tell y'all how he did when I ended up working for him. I'm going to get to that quick. But Coach Stacy was the type of guy, he would test your manhood. Like he'd tell us, you can't kill him, you can't guard him. So we had this deal that we did. The first time somebody set a screen on us during the game, you had to run over them full speed. You had to get ahead of steam and run them over full blast. Because he's like, we're going to be the toughest team. We're going to crash the boards hard. So literally, y'all, they'll throw up the jump ball. We'll go back on defense, whatever. He'll be on the sideline. He'll have his Coke in one hand. Screen coming, screen coming. And for 20 games in a row, we ran the screen over full speed. If you didn't run the screen over, you did not play for the rest of the game. So, I do that. I learned a lot about defense. So he let me play. They let me play there at Idaho my junior year, but my knee was so bad. Coach was like, you know what, Lance, man, you probably can shut it down and stuff like that. I said, all right, cool. But one thing he did was that he was like, look, I want you to be around the team. I want you to learn. So that's when I really started learning about mental toughness, because he had you believing that you could do things that you couldn't do. And I remember one time we were playing and he told me, he said, look, if they leave you open and if you don't shoot the three, I'm going to pull you out. So Coach Belfield over there, you know what? They left me open. I didn't shoot the three. So you know what he did? Pulled me out. So the lesson from that was this. Don't ever pump fake, y'all. Rule number one. So when y'all blessed to get a head coaching job, don't tell a player you gonna do it and don't do it. Don't pump fake. Because now kids will go back to the room and they start, well, coach not serious. So I learned that from him. Mental toughness. And if you say it, I still live by that to this day. If I say it, I'll trust and believe. I'm gonna do it. Big John knows. So I end up doing that. I finished playing, so cool. So, I graduate really not sure what I want to do. Well, my family, like Coach Davis said, we have an AAU team called the Mac Irvin Fire. So it used to be the Fire when I actually had to coach the team. So the Fire was built, my father started it. People really don't know. My father started the Fire back in the day to help underprivileged kids go to college, no matter your race, no matter what color. That's why the Fire was started. And we used to have this organization in Chicago called Athletes for Better Education. So my father was a part of that. So that's how the AAU team involved. And he's probably, like Dave say, one of the original founders of that. So that's how I started. So I eventually coached that. When I graduated, I coached that for a couple of months. And I was selling cars, y'all. So you know how people always trip basketball coaches like used car salesmen and he coaches. So I was blessed to sell cars, y'all, for about 2 months. That's where I learned how to actually, get to sell, get to do everything. Because my mother and father, they basically taught us, man, you have to be able to talk a little bit. See, people think I'm the shyest Irvin brother, but I'm not. I just speak when I need to speak. But, I do AAU, I'm selling used cars. So I get a call from Joey Meyer. So Joey Meyer calls me, right? Akeem, I'm selling used cars. Coach Meyer calls me. He calls my father. Well, Joey Meyer and DePaul back then, they were like the hottest thing smoking in Chicago. It was starting to tail down a little bit, but they were still kind of hot. So I talked to my mother. I talked to my father. I can't leave moms out. So I said, you know what, y'all? Coach Meyer called me. What you think? So they like, what else you gonna do? You need to go find you another job. You said you don't like selling cars, and the only reason I don't like selling cars back then was because people used to come to the dealership and not have a lot of money, but they wanted you to crush them. Like they wanted you to take all the money from them. So I couldn't do that. So to make a long story short, I'll take the job. But back then, the job was kind of like the restricted earners coach. That was the title, which means I made $12,500, y'all, for 3 years. I stayed at home. I lived with traffic from the school 50 minutes. So for 5 years, I drove 50 minutes. Sometimes it'll take an hour and 10 minutes. But when I first got into coaching, that's why, David, what you do, Coach AB does, is great. Because I thought with coaching, all you did was show up, coach the game, and coach practice. So that wasn't it. So kind of like what Coach Hamilton said, y'all, now this is back then. And DePaul supposedly had a decent budget, but I get that right, Akeem and Corey. I'm the strength coach. I'm the workout guy. I did all the workouts. I did I used to help guys, study, and I had to organize the tutors. And then the thing that really helped me from Coach Meyer, y'all, was this. Back then, you could actually live scout the game. So now Coach Kenny Burmeister was on our staff. Rest in peace. He just passed away. So he was in charge of scouting. And you played like 29 or 30 games then, but you can live scout. So now they sent me out on the first scout. I meet Jeff Battle, who's over here. He was on the Zoom last week. So I'm sitting there, I'm writing down, taking all these notes. So Jeff Battle slashed me his little paper. He said, Lance, make sure you watch videos before you come. That way you'll know, you'll have the plays down, and then you'll be ready. So Jeff, that's why I love Jeff Battle. He slid me a note. his notes. We actually go over the plays. So then I'm like, okay, okay, cool. So now I go back. Now Coach Burmeister, he's in charge of scouting, right? So out of 28 games, y'all, I went to live scout 25 games. I was never ever at home. So I'm like, I'm already doing workouts. I had to be at practice, academics. I'm doing strength and conditioning, but he made me go live scout. So that's the thing. It helped me. Like people ask me now, how do you scout so well? Well, I had to do a lot of them because that's what was thrust upon me at an early age. So I do that for a while. Stay there. Coach Burmeister, somebody ends up leaving like my third or fourth year. So I made sure, y'all, that I was gonna work hard enough, or worked hard enough where if a spot moved open, Coach was gonna move me up. Well, I got moved up. So when they moved me up, y'all, I told somebody this the other day. They moved me up. I was supposed to make like 50,000. I end up making about 30,000. I didn't see it in writing. I didn't see the contract in writing. So make sure y'all, no matter what you do, get your stuff in writing. If it's a contract, get your stuff in writing. People like you, but it's still a business. Until this day, when they tell me I'm gonna make a figure, I need to see it in writing. So if I'm like, I'm smiling at you, but I'm like, bring me my paper, because I learned from that. So I go there, do that. We end up not doing good. The last year or two, but I get some experience. So I get a call. They let us go there. Larry Farmer, who's at UCLA, he used to coach at UCLA. Y'all, he's been on TV. Coach Farmer happened to know Gary Charles, and Gary knew me from the AAU circuit. Plus, I tried to recruit some of Gary players, and I was always working. So Coach Charles calls Coach Farmer. Coach Farmer called me. I remember this. It was a Sunday. So Coach Farmer was like, "Hey, look, I'm in town. I'm in town for 2 days. Man, when can you come see me?" I said, "Coach, I'm going to church, but I'll come see you right after church." So church over, I go down there, and I talked to Coach Farmer a couple of days ago. But one thing Coach Farmer said, he was impressed about the way I came. So like Coach Martin said, I'm not coming to no flip flops. I'm not going nowhere. So I went down there looking like a young version of Tick Price, because I remember how Tick Price came. Had on suit, had on shoes and stuff. So Coach Farmer and I was talked about that to this day. But the one thing Loyola did for me in my journey was that Coach Farmer put me out there to understand the administrative part of the business. When I was at DePaul for Coach Ma, I really wasn't thinking about that. So Coach Farmer schooled me, and look, Irv, you got to get to know the AD. You have to get to know the president. So when he would go to meetings with the AD and presidents, when he could, the president, excuse me, he took me there with him. And Coach Farmer was letting me coach also. Like I remember the first time, like a lot of assistants, I said, "Hey, coach, we need to put this guy in. Put in that guy." I'm like, he's not playing hard enough. So Coach Farm was like, "No, Irv, you got to give me some facts. Like, look, he keeps getting beat off the ball screen. Coach, like, he's not going to the boards hard enough. He's not sprinting." So Coach Farmer, the one who helped me with the administration. He's the one who helped me understand coaching and stuff like that. So I tell people now, don't just tell me to just put somebody in. You got to give me some facts. So I go on from there. We do pretty good. I recruited some guys out of Chicago. One guy, David Bailey, scored like 2,100 points, and Coach Farmer really didn't even like him. But I remember, Dave, now you can always cut me off because this journey going to get long and they can ask me some questions. So, we recruit him. So the thing that helped me with that is that he took me to see John Wooden. And I had been a John Wooden fan. So one piece of advice Coach Wooden gave me was this. He said, don't never recruit slow players. And if you feel passionate about a player, it's okay to disagree with the coach, but you got to speak up. So I took that and I'm like, okay, I'm like, "Coach, I really like David Bailey, y'all." So I kept taking him to see David Bailey play. And he ended up liking him. So, man, y'all, you got to be passionate and understand what you're talking about. So I go there, I leave there, we do good. I get a call from my old college coach. This one, the journey, y'all, it gets like crazy. So now, Larry Eustacy, that coached me at Idaho, was the coach at Iowa State. My roommate Leonard Perry was on the staff. So Leonard gets a job. Coach Stacy calls me. So I'm at Iowa State, y'all. I'm like 31. I'm making like 110,000 back then, which is I'm like rolling G. I'm thinking like I'm on the top of the world. So I'm making like 110,000. I go home one day, right? And my mother looked at me and said, my mother called me Lanny. She said, Lanny, when you start carrying money? I reach in my pocket, I pull out a knot of money about that big. Because one thing Coach Stacy told us, don't go nowhere with no money. Drive a nice car. Don't go anywhere without money. But the one thing Coach Stacy did for me from a coaching standpoint was that he told me, like I hear a lot of coaches said earlier, and they say on all these Zooms I'm on, he told me this: I'm not going to let them label you as just being only a guy that could sign players. So it was a many days where I wanted to go on the road. He wouldn't let me go. He said, man, I'm not going to let them label you. But he would tell people that, no, the guy can coach, he can coach. So, we go to coaching. I had my own group to coach, like Coach Farmer did too. I was working with the guards every day. And Coach really, really like from a standpoint of being able to relate with the boosters and stuff. Coach had a luncheon, right, every Tuesday. And Coach would never go to his luncheon. So I remember the first time he did that, it was like Tuesday at like, the luncheon was at 12. It's Tuesday at like 11:30. So he walks past the office. And Trey Chapman, who worked at Middle Tennessee State with Kermit, he walked past both our offices and said, hey, I'm not going to my luncheon. Y'all going to the luncheon. So Trey and I looked, going to the luncheon to talk about what? He said, no, y'all going to figure that out. So we go to the luncheon. So now I'm like, okay, figuring it out. So that stuff right there helped me. So, I'm at Iowa State, we doing pretty good. And one stint where I was laughing at Ronnie was about, we had a nice budget at Iowa State. So he said, man, you got to go see Tim Barnes. Tim's schoolwork a little shaky. So you need to go see Tim. So I said, okay, cool, coach. Well, let me get a flight so I could get there, quick. He said, a flight? You're not getting a flight. You're going to drive. So I literally had to drive 12 hours. And I'm thinking I'm going to fly. So no. You going to learn how to grind a little bit. I said, coach, I know how to grind. So he made me jump on the flight. He made me drive. So to make a long story short, I do that. Coach hires this other assistant. I'm not going to tell you his name. Now I'm 32, making a lot of money. He hires this assistant, which I really didn't like him. So we going back and forth. We arguing about the fight, whatever. But I would never tell coach. He'd go tell coach. So coach calling me and coach getting into it. So finally, y'all, this is where the story gets crazy. I'm 31, 32 then. I end up after the season, I said, no, I'm going somewhere else. So coach was like, you going somewhere else? I said, yeah, coach, I'm going somewhere else. I'm not. See, because I'm a born fighter and I'm have to whoop this guy and you keep taking the side from side to side. So for me not to whoop this guy, I find me another job, right? So y'all, I said, but he told me before I left, he said, you set your career back 10 years. And it almost felt like that, y'all, seriously. So I remember going home. I said, hey, mom, going home, I can't put up with it. I'm going to have to whoop this dude. I found another job, y'all, at Illinois State. So I found another job, y'all. But here go the kicker. How many idiots y'all know go from 115,000 to 60,000? Y'all know any idiots? That's a lot of money. So now I say, Mom, it ain't about the money. So my mother looks at me and says, it's about the money when you don't have money. People with money, it's not about the money for them. You don't have money. So I'm thinking to myself, what did I just do? So I go there, right? Coach Rich was one of the most underrated coaches I've been around. So I remember the stuff Coach Farmer tells me, y'all. So I say, Coach Rich, can I go talk to the AD? Yeah, go talk to AD. So I go meet the president, right? So I'm at practice 7 days in a row. The AD comes to practice. Now, I remember these stories my father and them used to tell me. Now, Coach Rich, when I went there, y'all, he was coming off a 15-win season, 17 and a 20-win season, right? So I'm like, okay, I'll go there. He's supposed to have a 4-year contract. Well, the AD not only comes 7 days, he comes 8 days, he comes 9 days, he comes 10 days. So finally I said, hey, coach, let me ask you a question. I said, AD been in practice about 11 days in a row now. Is this something you really want to tell me? Because that's not usual. He said, Irv, I forgot to sign my contract. You forgot to sign your contract? I said, oh, man. So, yeah, we win 16 games that year. Excuse me. We get fired. We get fired. So I'm like, I sat down, I had a cup of coffee, we get fired. But I had met the president. So the president says, you know what, Lance? Now, I'm going to make sure we pay you for about 9 months. So I get paid for 9 months, cool. So I leave there, y'all. Then I go to Texas A&M. Because my thing is this, I tell people all the time. My father-in-law told me, if my daughter needs to be fed, don't call me to feed her. You going to have to feed her. So I got that money. So I get a call from Melvin Watkins, which I met Melvin when I was on the circuit. So I go to Texas A&M, y'all. Learn, we grind a little bit. But lo and behold, y'all, Coach was on his last year there too. But the one thing I kept, thinking about was the coach of farming theory. So I go in there, I meet with the AD, get to know him. Well, the assistant AD, in which I didn't know, he would come watch practice from time to time. I'm out there sweating. I show up early. I sweep the floor because I did that back in high school. My high school coach made sweeping the floor, working guys out, doing everything need to be done. I'm speaking to the booster club before the games, right? You had to speak to the booster club, but I knew that from working at Iowa State. So we do that. So I do that and stuff. So, the year gets kind of choppy, and the AD calls me into his office. He said, hey, look, Lance, man, I like the way you working. I'm going to give you a 2-year contract because I don't know how things going in here, y'all. So I'm like, oh, come on, man. Come on. So he gives me a 2-year contract. So I leave there, learn a lot from Coach White. He's one of my close mentors to this day. So I leave there. I go to Missouri with Quinn Snyder. So we roll, and I think I'm like, man, I just made it, y'all. I'm like, okay, good. My money good again, y'all. I'm back. My older brother Byron went there. Coach Watkins made a call for me. So I get there. The first practice, I'm out there working guys out, y'all. I'm sweating hard. The guys, I'm out there playing one-on-ones with them, shooting them, because I'm big in the individual workouts. So, now that's when the whole Ricky Clemens stuff was working out, y'all. So, the Ricky Clemens situation, we do, Quinn and the AD going back and forth, y'all. And I love Quinn. Like, to this day, Quinn a guy that'll let you coach too. So that happens, right? So at the end of the year, Quinn and the AD get into it. Man, coach, we gone. I'm like, we gone? I just got here. So after that, y'all, man, I was quitting. I was like, no. I'm through. So my father would literally call me. Like my father called me, my brother Nick called me, my brother Byron called me. I'm like, I'm through. I'm not coaching no more. I'm through. I'm not going through this. They could keep all that. So they talked me out of it. I coach AAU. I'm having fun. Then I get a call one day from Matt Doherty because my brother Byron knew him. So that kind of got me back on my feet. I go to SMU. We learn and sign some players. I go to SIU with Chris Lowry. Chris named me associate head coach and out there grinding, working hard. So my last year there, next to the last year there, my daughter Brooklyn was in like 3rd grade and she was having a pizza party, y'all. So she says, Daddy, for me to go to the pizza party, you had to get some blood. So I get some blood. I remember Coach Lowry and I was just about to go to Atlanta. So I had to get some blood, right? So I'm about to get on a plane. Chris and I are about to get on the plane. So I get a call from the doctor. The doctor tells me, scares the hell out of me, G, but scared me for a great reason. They said, don't get on a plane. You had cancer. So I'm like, what? Don't get on a plane. You have cancer. So I remember the week before that, the doctor, I kept telling him that my back was hurting. So he gave me a steroid shot. So I remember one day we was doing a workout, and I'm working guys out, I'm banging them, y'all. I literally, man, after the workout, I went behind the cage and I couldn't breathe. I literally, if it wasn't for that steroid shot, I wouldn't even be here. So the doctor gave me a steroid shot. They diagnosed me with cancer. So I leave there, wasn't strong enough to coach. So I come back home, right? And then I come back home. And then when I get back home about a month or two later, I'm still not feeling good. So I get another call. The cancer was gone for about 10, 11 months, but I still wasn't feeling good. So I get another call. Hey, you need to come back down here. So I'm like, what? So I get a call. I get diagnosed. The cancer came back. But I used to always wonder, like, how come my mother and father had so many kids? And for us African Americans, you only have a 20% chance to get a match. So my brother Mikey matched me. So now, I go back, y'all. They give me some stuff that this stuff was so powerful. I don't know how you could do it, but one of the things that helped me out, y'all, then I'm gonna end and I'll talk about Chicago State a little bit. Due to the fact that Coach Stacy instilled in me mental toughness, and my father, they was on my butt. I worked at SMU for Coach Doherty, which Coach Doherty was probably one of the toughest guys you could work for. He used to keep us in the morning, y'all. I forgot to talk about him. I get in the morning, y'all, at 8:30, wouldn't leave till about 12:30 at night. On game days, you get in at 8:30, you didn't leave till about 3:30 at night because I had to do the deck-to-deck tapes. So that's how real that grind was. That grind was unbelievable. So then, like I said, I get a call from Chris. I'll go there, y'all. But I get diagnosed with cancer. So I do that, y'all. It's tough. Man, my hands were so black, like they was looking like tar. But I made sure I used all that basketball stuff to help me get over the hump, from like the grinding in the office to like doing the strength and conditioning. I'm believing I can do stuff I can't do. But I get a call from my brother Nick, and this one I went to Morgan Park High School because I was strong enough, but I really wasn't strong enough to coach y'all. I didn't really want to coach, so I get a call from my brother Nick. He said, "Hey man, what you doing?" Nick, nothing, man. He said, "Hey man, you need to get your ASS up here." I'm like, "For what? I'm not going nowhere." He said, "No, man. No, 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 no. You coming, you getting your butt up here right now." So I go up there, I come through the door because the players knew I was just getting over cancer, so they started clapping. So, I started helping him coach. I love to coach, y'all. I started helping him coach. Then my sister-in-law, she was a high school coach at Whitney Young. So she was pregnant, y'all. So I go there because it was a window where I'm able to go watch people coach, and I could do some stuff. So she was there, right? And she was pregnant. She was sitting down, y'all. So I literally on the sideline, she let me help her coach from the sideline. So that really fueled my energy and fueled my passion. So getting back to Morgan Park, I go there, I help Nick out for like 7 years where we won literally, y'all, 5 out of 7 state championships. And when coaches come to watch us practicing, y'all, now, I'm doing the same thing I always taught y'all. That's why I tell people, no job is too big for you. No job is too little. And I'm going to close. I'm sweeping floors, y'all. I'm like practicing hard, doing individual workouts. So my last year there with Nick, my daughter Brooklyn, I told her, I said, "Hey, look, Brookie, you a sophomore in high school." I said, "You know what? I'm not gonna go anywhere until you finish high school." So this how I believe in the Lord too, y'all. I said I'm not going nowhere till you finish high school. So our last year, y'all, Nick, I, and Rodell Davis, who Akeem knows, we made a pact that said, look, when some jobs come open, you guys, whoever turn is it, you gonna go for a job. So now Chicago State comes open. They know me because I coached in college. Nick and I and Rodell, we roll and we win the state championships. But 8 years prior to that, when they called me, they said, look, we have a job open. Would you come interview? I said, no, I'm fine. I'm just going to stay where I am. But long story short, this is why you got to have really good mentors in your camp too. Coach Farmer told me, man, don't you ever do that. Anytime somebody calls you for an interview, You didn't have no experience there, so you make sure you go interview. So lo and behold, they was looking for a new coach due to the fact that I always kept a clean record. I was always working hard. I was always doing the things that I needed to do. I was able to get the job. And lo and behold, that's why I'm the coach there now. So now it's a grind, y'all. Every day it's a grind. But like some people say, some jobs not as good as they seem, some jobs not as bad as they seem. That's how Chicago State is. I love it because it's my job. And I apologize if I got a long-winded day, but I get a little passionate when I start speaking about my story. So, if y'all have any questions, please feel free. And one thing I got to do, like y'all said, I got to give a shout out to my family, my brother Nick, that's coaching now, my brother Byron, my brother Mike, my brother Mac, who's Corey's husband, who he'll go around and tell you he has 30,000 points in the ghetto. He can score that ball. So I got to give a shout out to everybody in my family, y'all. So, if y'all have any questions, please feel free. And, y'all done got me woke up now. I could go all night. Come on.
Coach John Mandeldove.
I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to you because you didn't sign at Missouri when I was a coach. Come on.
I wanted to say I do apologize, man, for that situation, man. If hindsight was 2020 and looking at it now, older now and wiser now, I would have definitely made that move with you and gotten better with you as a young man and now, older adult. And I want to say that following your story and following you and when I got out of college and seeing what you as well as the brothers were doing, man, y'all inspired me to do what I'm doing right now. So I really didn't have a question, but I wanted to give you your flowers, brother, because I know that, our relationship as far as personal wise and with the family wise, was decent, but I wanted to make sure that I commend you and I want to say thank you because you inspired me to do what I'm doing right now. And it saved my life. It saved my life, bro.
You know what, John? Let me say this. You did the right decision. You made the right decision by going where you went. And at the end of the day, I think the one thing I learned is that we all here to help each other. At the end of the day, you kind of like block your blessings if you're not giving. And I know I'm blocking mine if I'm not giving advice. So I know one thing, Dave, was that you talked about. Another nugget I could give is this: no job is too big, no job is too little for you. I'm still sweeping the floor to this day, and I'm the head coach, and I'm still sweeping the floors. I'm doing other things. Anything needs to be done, I do it. But also, one thing I also learned is this: like I said, you have to be willing to learn. Also, I remember when I was at SMU, y'all. Coach Doherty was big in how to be super organized, which I was organized though. I thought I was, but he sent me to Franklin Covey School. So I literally had to go to Franklin Covey School to learn how to work a planner. He sent me, oh man, I was the ball boy recruit, so I had to go find ball boys and do all that. So, I wanted to tell them no, but I'm like, no, I'm not going to tell them no. I'm going to do anything that needs to be done.
Coach, I do have a question. Talk about that transition, some of the things that you had to do going from being an assistant head coach to being a head coach at a school that hasn't had much success at the Division I level.
John, that's a really good question. The one thing I thought about Chicago State, I said, it's a stock that's kind of been beaten up. Coming from Chicago, I understand Chicago State history. Chicago State was a school that was the pillar in the African American community when I was growing up. Like families used to send their kids there for the sports programs they had. They had a program called the NYSP, and my brother Byron was a part of that. I was a part of that, and I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you and tell you that is not a tough job. It's a tough job. You have to be able to grind. But one thing I thought about is this. I'm a born fighter. I beat cancer twice. So I mean, I'm up for a challenge. Like some people run from challenges, I run towards the challenge because that's how I'm cut. That's how my mother and father taught me. But we'll do better this year. You know, we've been hurt by injuries. I mean, one thing too, y'all, you have to kind of account for injuries. One thing I never accounted for the injury bug, Big John. So you know, my first 2 years, my first year, we had guys miss a total of 44 games, and then last year was probably about 44, 50. I ended the season with 8 players, 6 were scholarships, and 2 was walk-ons.
Wow.
Like 2 of the 6 had growing injuries, foot problems, but we still made it through. But we'll be much better this year.
Coach Lance, Coach Gomley,
What's up, G? How are you, sir?
What's going on, man? How are you doing?
I'm good, G. How are you, sir?
I'm doing all right, man. I love listening to your story.
I shouldn't talk to you either, though, because your brother didn't come play for us either, though.
I might have got on him late. You know what I mean? So, but my question is, talk about, obviously you're the head coach at Chicago State now. You had a lot of ups and downs in your journey to get to this point. Talk about, you know, maybe the good things or even the bad things that you've learned through your journey that you apply to your program today as the head coach from what you've learned as an assistant with all your stops.
You know what? That's also part of learning too. Like people always saying, "What's the good things? What's the good things?" But like I talked about earlier, G, is that if you're not gonna do it, don't say it. Cause like I said, kids will think about that, and they won't really think that you're serious. So if you say it now, you have to follow through with it. And also, I remember watching TV, or I might have read a book. I was reading Billy Donovan wrote a book after they won the Final Four. And one thing that stuck out was that he stood out, excuse me, he said, administrations help you win championships. The academic advisor, the AD, the compliance people, all those groups, people, they help you win. So that's the thing I got about it, because I was at some schools, right, where the AD and the coach wasn't on the same page. The president and the coach is just too much going on. So your administration needs to help you if you're gonna win at a consistent level. Like you might be able to do it once in a while, but you need the admin team to help you also.
Coach Irvin, what's going on, man? Akeem.
My man, what's up, King?
Man,
How are you, sir?
Man, I'm doing good. As you know, I got mad respect for you, especially being from Chicago. Man, and some of the parts of the story I didn't know, so that was really good. My question for you is, what would you tell your younger self? And I know you spoke on Iowa State, and I know Coach Stacy said something about this is going to basically stunt your development a little bit for leaving Iowa State. Going back, would you have left Iowa State or stayed?
You know what? I think about that often, and one of the things I should have done is that I probably should have stayed, but at 31, 32, I really mentally wasn't right then. I was too immature. That's the word. I was immature back then. For what? I mean, I should have told the dude I was gonna whoop him again. But no, I mean, it's a bigger picture to that, and we all have goals. So, I mean, that's the one thing I regret. Because the one thing about me, man, I'm a lot tougher than what I showed then. So I kind of got emotional for a couple of days where I should have been able, like, come on, Lance, man, you know better than that. You done been through far worse. You can't let, a couple of words 5 days in a row kind of get to you or have you was. But, you make mistakes and you learn. But that's one of the things I wish I probably could have handled a little bit differently. And on a different note, one thing I'm glad I did was had the opportunity to meet different guys. I learned a lot. But, man, I can't stress to y'all enough. If you have an opportunity to talk to the AD, go talk to the AD. Go talk to the assistant ADs because they will help you down the line. And I've been fortunate due to the fact I talked to some ADs, I talked to some presidents or assistant ADs. They've been able to help me in this journey. It's always gratifying when you can make a call 15 years ago. Like I'm calling people in like 2001, 2002. I'm calling people from then. And they helped me because they said, man, you was always nice to us and you was a hard worker. And also, it's more than just just your staff at a school. Like, talk to the football coaches, talk to the women basketball coaches, talk to the other sports, soccer, because those sports, they have programs too, and they looking for people to help them. Like, I have y'all bunch of women. I have like 1,000 women coaches almost. I still stay in contact with. So man, make sure y'all talk to people around the university. Those things always help.
Coach Irvin, Nigel Thomas, North Carolina Central University, Chicago product, Rich East High School, 63rd in Aberdeen, born and raised.
Man, you know I know your story. How
Yeah.
you feel? You doing good? You've been doing some great stuff too, man.
Appreciate that. My question for you is, you've been to a lot of stops. At what point in your journey did you feel like you were ready to be a head coach?
You know what? That's a question somebody just asked me last week. And I'm going to tell you this. You never really ready until you sit down in that chair. Like, you might think you ready, but like, I remember my first college game, coach. I mean, my first week of coaching. This is my first week who we played. I still remember to this day, even though it's 2 years ago. We played Indiana on a Tuesday, Notre Dame on a Thursday, and we played Central Michigan on a Friday. The school scheduled a bad back-to-back. So when I really knew I was okay, Mark Montgomery called me before the game, right? And, you know, I was feeling some type of way. You know, my brother Nick hyped me up, Mike. So Monty said, hey, look, Lance, I know it's lonely on your first day. You gonna be fine, man. He said, you know what, man, my first game, man, I think my team only hit like 30 points. So as long as you get 30 points, you'll be fine. So once I called that first time out, I was ready. Now, I made a bad sub that Akeem's boy told me to make that I wish I wouldn't have did it. I'm not even gonna get started, but you actually really understand it when you sit down there and kind of get used to the groove. Because the one thing is that those TV timeouts, those like 3 minute timeouts. I remember I went into the huddle, right? I came out with my best stuff, and I was like, man, we still got 45 more seconds left. So, you know, just learning those things about the game and stuff. But actually, now, and I used to tell the guys too, and I'm always honest with them. I said, you know what, y'all? I'm going to be better next year than I am this year, but I'm ready though. And one thing I made the guys know is that they always believed in me because they knew I was there. And I'm the type, I still get out there and do drills and stuff. I still give them confidence. I still use some of the stuff that my father taught me. Like, I tell a guy, like, man, if you can get me 20, go give him 30 real quick. I'm like, why you didn't shoot? I'm over there like, now that's the Nick Irvin had me. See, I should have never coached high school, y'all, with Nick, because Nick could have a guy like, I remember we was playing in the state tournament. Dave, cut me off whenever you ready. Want to? God bless you. Good day. Good night. I'll go sit down somewhere because the best Irvin coach on this call is Corey, and I know she's talking about me. But anyway, we was playing in the state tournament, right? And this kid by the name of Namari Burnett, I don't know if y'all heard of him. Namari Burnett going to Texas Tech. So the score like 62-60 with like 2 minutes left. So he steps over half court, right? And I hear Nick just holler out, get you one. I'm like, get you what? I said, Nick. The man shot that thing from half court and made it. So some kind of way they go back down, whatever they missed. Now we up 3, right? So you think common sense to tell you, hold the ball. What y'all think Nick do? Namari come over half court again. He in the right corner this time. They throw it to him, and Nick over there dancing. Nick animated. Get you another one. I'm like, get you another one. He made it. I'm like, so, you know, Nick was good for me, but Nick was bad for me too. Now, see, because Nick got me over there talking crazy. Like, I talk during the game. That's all right, though. I'm going to be able to talk a little bit more, though. But no,
Appreciate that. Appreciate you sharing your story, man. That's inspirational. Appreciate you.
Believe in yourself is all I can say.
No
Believe
doubt.
in yourself.
No
Y'all
doubt.
know how to coach.
Coach.
What's up,
I'm Aaron Mazabuco. I've actually coached out here in Dallas for the past couple of years, and I'll be actually moving to Chicago next week. I'll be helping out at Lincoln Park High School, and I just want to introduce myself. Would love to come watch a practice if things open up and get a chance to.
Man, Aaron, you know what? You going over there with my man AJ.
Yeah. Good dude.
You know, I just sent AJ some stuff. So, and please feel free. Anytime anybody on the call wants to come over and help, I mean, not come over and help, but come over and watch. And I do take ideas from people. Like, I got to get with my sister-in-law, Corey, down there, y'all. Alvin Brookston just blew her up. Like, anybody want to know about 5 defense? Dave, DB. Call up Corey Irvin over there, y'all. Call up Corey about her 5 defense. Matter of fact, I got a meeting with her tomorrow, probably, if she could squeeze me in. But I
I have to
appreciate
do
that,
that.
Aaron. Tell AJ to get you my number. Yeah.
For sure. Appreciate it.
Hey, Lance, I got one more question for you. Obviously, I know how much your parents mean to you, your father, in particular for basketball. Can you say one thing that he really taught you that sticks with you all the time?
You know what? That's a great question. I remember asking my father, like, I asked him one day, I'm sitting there listening to him, and I'm like, hey, Dad, let me ask you a question. I said, how do you get people to talk to you? I said, because you can make people talk that really never really talk. I'm like, Dad, you make everybody feel good, like to most part. And he gave me a couple of words. He said, son, you got to make people feel like they special and feel like they want it. Make them feel special, feel like they want it, and listen. He said sometimes people overtalk. You could overtalk. So he said, man, make sure you listen. And I'll tell you a quick story about that, where it paid off. So him and Sonny Vaccaro was having a meeting. So they at camp, they're having a meeting, and I can't remember who they talking to. So they said, come on, Lance, we want you to come in. I said, come in where? No, you need to come in this meeting. So I literally watched my father. A guy was talking. He was getting all huffy at first. So the guy was talking. My father listened to him. He pulled out a notepad. That's why some days you see me with a notepad. He wrote down everything the guy was saying and then broke it down by the man. After that, the guy jumped up and started smiling. Oh, Pat, you the best, Mac. I mean, you the best. You got to make people feel like they want it. And don't worry about yourself. Like, you could be in a bad mood, but you don't have to show it. And that's something else that my father did. Like the players will tell you, I'm never, ever in a bad mood. Never, ever. If I am, I'm not going to let them see me. But, man, always have a good attitude, and words of encouragement goes a long way.
Hey, Lance, and one last thing. I'm sorry, Dave. I got to tell you this story that you may not know about your dad. Tony Freeman Jr. is my best friend, so he went to Iowa.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's my best friend, man. So he went to Iowa, and obviously he played for your dad at AAU. He played for Gene Pingator, legendary high school coach. So he goes to Iowa, play for Alford for 3 years. Alford leaves to go to New Mexico State, or New Mexico, and I forgot the coach's name that got the job, and he did Tony wrong. And Ping and Mac basically said, my man from Iowa would not get another Chicago player, and he didn't get another Chicago player.
That's why I'm not going to say his name.
Some of you guys, I'm not going to say his name either. Some of you guys don't know how powerful, Mac was, to Chicago and my high school coach Pingator. But, man, I just thought of that story. Like, they said he wasn't going to get another Chicago kid, and he didn't get another Chicago kid, and he got let go. Like,
man, you know what, though?
That's
I don't know if you
very
knew
true.
that. I don't know if you knew that, but I had to share that with you.
I didn't know
Glad
that.
you said that, Kim. I make sure if I'm gonna take a macaron fire kid, I better love him and make sure to treat him right, because if you don't, you ain't getting another one back.
treat everybody right. That's all you have to do, man. Treat everybody right. DB, man, I appreciate you. Unless somebody has some questions for me, I know it's late. I'm not trying to keep people all day, every day, unless somebody have another question or two. And, man, I appreciate the platform.
No, for sure, Coach. Does anyone have any last questions for Coach Irvin? Real quick. But no, Coach Irvin, I appreciate you coming on and really getting to hear your story. And obviously, like I said, I've heard you talk a couple times, but just getting to hear your story and everything. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing with us.
Man, Dave, you know what I meant to tell you, too. And I know Tommy is on here, too, and I know Alvin Brooks. If I could take a couple of minutes and G on here, too, man. What you've been doing is great. I mean, I wish I was able to get some of this advice when I was younger. The knowledge people sharing. I mean, you had some powerful coaches on here, and the people on here really listening, like you can get some great advice and some great nuggets. And I don't know if Tommy is still on here. Like I see Mandy down there, but I'm hiring Tommy as my assistant coach, right? Tommy Strine. But one of the reasons why I did it because every time I looked up, David, I see you, I see Tommy, I see G, I see you on all these Zooms. And one thing everybody needs to know: when you think people are not watching, we're watching. At the end of the day, my mother and father told me that. So you always on the interview. When you think you're not being interviewed, you are being interviewed. So I appreciate your platform. You know, if you need anything, DB, hit me up. I know Russ was on here, man. I appreciate it. And thanks for
Absolutely.
listening to my journey.
No, absolutely, Coach. Appreciate you sharing with us and pulling a Woj bomb and breaking news on us on breaking news on the home front tonight. Tommy, congrats, man. That's big time.
Thank you. Yeah, Coach dropping the Woj bomb there.
Man, I know. I mean, Tommy been doing an excellent job. Like Tommy is knowledgeable. You know, Tommy is well spoken. Tommy can coach. Because the one thing too, I say real quick, DB, I let coaches coach. I'm not gonna hire an assistant coach if I'm not gonna let you coach. I think sometimes head coaches, this just me. You do a coach a disservice if you don't let them coach. And I've never been in a situation where a guy didn't let me coach. I always went out there and jumped in it. So, man, I let guys coach them, man. Make sure y'all always coaching, doing the best you can do. And don't take your cell phone out on the court during practice. It's okay if your family calling you, but don't answer your cell phone during practice now. Man, I appreciate y'all too, man.
I'm taking note of that one. Cell phone will stay in the office.
No, you can have it in your pocket or you go to the bathroom and answer. Or if you tell me it's your wife, you can answer it if your wife or if your daughter calling. Or if Corey Irvin called. Now, if Corey called, you can answer if Corey called.
She's in 5 defense.
boy, Corey got special permission, boy.
Right.
Hey, Sean, Corey come in the gym, my players scared of Corey. Seriously, Corey come in the gym, man, my players like, I'm trying not to curse y'all. Corey come in the gym, my players like, oh shit, it's really about to get bad. Now, Corey, I love you.
Yeah, Corey, I'm about to set up a meeting soon, Corey.
Everybody, set up a meeting with Corey Irvin. All right, y'all. Dave, I appreciate y'all.
Oh, man, I appreciate you, Coach, and obviously Coach Martin and Coach Hamilton as well. Thank you guys for sharing with us and everybody that joined in tonight. Thank you again for tuning in. It was another good week, and we'll be back again next week. So thank y'all again, and I'll see you next week. Y'all be safe. Have a good week.
Thanks, Dave.